Welcome to Live Impact News. Julie Kay here. It is 12:30 on your Friday afternoon, and we're beginning with multiple pieces of breaking news here. I want to start with the most local, the murder trial for two men charged with killing Scott Brooks. That is a very closely watched trial, of course. The defense has rested. So we're just getting updates from Jessie Pierre, who's been following this over the last 3 weeks, as she has been in the courtroom pretty much every day, and she has just sent us in some updates. So both the defense and prosecution has rested. The judge says that they'll be hearing closing statements next. The jury has left the courtroom. They'll be back Monday morning, and that's when we hear those closing statements and potentially soon get a decision here from the jury. So this is a really, really important update. Jessie Pierre is going to be live later in our shows at 5:15 and 6 p.m. with a full breakdown of what she heard today, any information that she got, any details that we aren't able to get to here in the stream, and just what comes next. Of course, that's going to come on Monday, but definitely a long 3 weeks it's been, Carlene, for sure, for people watching this very closely.
Years of this
Yes.
case. I mean,
Yeah.
people who have been here at least, I want to say 4 or 5 years know about this case.
Yeah, deeply impacting the Charlotte community, specifically NODA, where the Sandwich House is.
This is beloved. This is a beloved institution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this is, just a heartbreaking case overall, but to maybe finally get some answers here, I think will be, the community will be grateful to move forward in that way. We also want to get to some breaking news out of Florida. A deputy was killed and 2 others were injured after a shooting on Friday morning. So this broke out when they served an eviction notice, according to the Vero Beach mayor. So this is seen from, is this from now?
This is now. This is live.
This is live from West 2. That's a station down there in Florida. Orlando, showing video of this area. But where exactly is Indian River County, Carlene?
So, Indian River County, there's our colleagues in Orlando are giving us this shot in their chopper, but the Indian River County itself is kind of it's on the coast. It's like in the Atlantic coast. So I pulled up on the map here. So if you can see the little red box right here, it's south of Orlando and south of Cape Canaveral, but north of Palm Beach and Jupiter. So it's like kind of in between, like the biggie areas in Florida.
Still heavily populated, being so close to both of those areas.
And on the coast.
And on the coast, absolutely. We have not gotten any details yet on who the deputies are, their identities, or any potential suspects in what happened here. we're hoping to get some more information. I know at one point West was reporting that officials were supposed to have a news conference around noon. That has come and gone, and that's not uncommon in situations like this that are so fluid when we are still dealing with an active scene and potentially no suspect. So I'm not shocked that this is going to take a little bit longer, but I do expect at some point today we will be getting updates, hopefully able to bring that press conference to you live. But again, yeah, one deputy has lost their life. 2 others are injured and recovering in the Lawnwood Hospital in Fort Pierce as we speak. But even from this helicopter footage, you can see, I mean, still pieces of evidence are marked with cones on the ground, caution tape blocking off this house where that eviction notice was attempting to be served. Lots going on here, lots of questions still remain. Hopefully we'll get some more information in the next couple hours here, because we'll be here until 4 on Live Impact News. And some other breaking news, this time out of Portland, Oregon. A shooting left 1 person dead and 1 person hurt. This was, I believe, in the early hours of this morning. And this is seen from earlier. You can see police cars, some investigative vehicles there. They're still investigating what happened here. This happened around 6 this morning, 6:45 this morning, in the Hollywood district. If you guys are familiar at all with Portland, 2 people, as I mentioned, struck by gunfire. 1 person died, 1 man died. The other person is in the hospital and expected to recover. Also in this situation, no arrests have been made. But you can kind of see this area too. This is a pretty busy commercial area. I know this section had a gym in it and a small restaurant. So we're not quite sure exactly where this happened yet. I believe police have confirmed that this didn't happen inside any of the businesses, but a very heavily trafficked area, it seems, for something like this to happen, especially so early in the morning on a work day. So this area is going to be closed if you're familiar with the Portland, Oregon region, and police are going to continue to investigate. I have not heard any word about any sort of press conference or news conference updates. If we do get that information, though, we will bring that to you live, of course. But also keep in mind that Portland is a few hours behind us, and so this is only a few hours after this happened for them. It's 6:45 Pacific time, and so they are still in the early stages of figuring this out. The sun probably still just coming up over there, so definitely need some patience on this one. But multiple things are following on Live Impact News. All right, we'll be back in about 2 minutes with updates on any of those stories when we get them, and also some more news that we've been following, developments of Border Patrol here in Charlotte. Welcome back. It is 12:39 here in the Live Impact Studio. I'm Julie Kay, and as I mentioned, we're following a lot of breaking scenes, not just here in Charlotte, but across the country. We want to get back, though, to the most developing story of the last week, that is Border Patrol being deployed to Charlotte and arresting hundreds of people in the time that they've been here. Of course, still some conflicting reports over whether they are intending to leave or not. There was an announcement made by Sheriff McFadden yesterday that they were going to be leaving, and then DHS came in and said, actually, that's not true. We're staying. Operation Charlotte's Web, as they call it, will continue. Of course, those troops are eventually expected to move on to New Orleans, but we're still hoping today we get some clarity on the timing of that. Meanwhile, though, Democratic leaders here in Charlotte are hoping that they leave no matter what. They have not welcomed this operation, that is to put it lightly, and they had a press conference here that just wrapped up in the last few minutes that we are going to take you to from the beginning. Multiple state representatives and senators, an elected city council member, faith leaders, community leaders in general. So let's take a listen in to this and see what they have to say.
Of course, we are not happy to be here because our community has been under siege for the last week. When we found out that Border Patrol was coming, we gathered last Friday in front of the Government Center, and we're back here now as we hear that Border Patrol is leaving, but ICE is staying, and we've had conflicting reports from DHS. But what we would like to do is to have the 30,000 children who've been out of school because they're afraid, whether they are undocumented or not, to feel comfortable to come back out. For our businesses, like the one here behind us, Manolo's, to open back up, and for people to be able to come out and enjoy their lives. We want for people in Charlotte to be able to live and work and travel safely. So I'm Representative Aisha Dew, and I am now going to hand the microphone over to Representative Jordan Lopez, as this is his district.
Hey, Jordan. Well, thank you, Representative Dew, and thank you all for being here. Thank you to my colleagues, to our community leaders, to our faith.
Speak up.
Okay, I'm sorry about. Don't worry about the mic. I'll just have to speak a little louder. It's cool. Thank you all for being here this morning. Thank you to my colleagues for joining us, for our community leaders, faith leaders, business leaders for being here this afternoon, or this morning, excuse me. This has been a long week, and as Representative Dew said, we are angry. What we saw this week was an exercise in aggressive racial profiling. What we saw this week was terror perpetuated throughout our community that affected people who are here legally, people who are not affected at all because they're citizens, people who are just brown, people who have owned businesses in this community for generations that have had to close their doors out of fear that their customers or that their employees might not make it to work or might not make it home. And that is not the kind of city that we want to live in. It is not the kind of community that we want to live in, especially being here in East Charlotte, which has always been one of the more diverse districts in our city. And I always argue it's probably one of the most diverse communities in our state. It's not who we are. So what we also saw this week, though, was a community that came together like I had never seen before. Folks that, like I said before, may not have to worry about Border Patrol sweeping them up because of the color of their skin, putting themselves on the line to record and document everything they saw out of these agents because they wanted to make sure they were holding the federal government accountable for violating the rights of the people that are here in this country. People who are donating their time and their resources to pack boxes of food to take to families that are too afraid to leave the house to get formula for their babies or diapers for their kids. We've seen, again, community leaders come together to stand with one another, to remind each other, and really the entire city and country, that Charlotte does not stand for this, because Charlotte is a home for every single person that lives here. And so I want to thank everybody again for being here, and thank you again, Representative Aisha Dew, for organizing this demonstration this morning amongst community leaders to once again say to the federal government, to the Trump administration, this is not right. We do not stand for it. We do not agree with it, and we will continue to stand up. We've been out here every single night with young leaders demonstrating their opposition, their anger and frustration to what the federal government is doing. And I am inspired by how our community has come together during this time, and look forward to seeing more of it going forward as we continue to push back against this administration. So thank you again for being here, and I will pass it back to Representative Dukes.
All right, we'll see. Okay. Well, next we will have Rabbi Judy Schindler. Duly noted that this is a gathering of elected leaders, community members, and our faith leaders from across Charlotte-Mecklenburg.
I just learned 1 minute ago that I would be speaking at this moment. I don't like to speak extemporaneously, but at this moment, I cannot hold back my voice. My father arrived at Ellis Island on August 1st, 1938, fleeing as a refugee from Germany. And so we know what it's like to flee persecution and seek to find a home where we can have a better future. The Torah, which grounds Judaism and Christianity and Islam, is very clear about the commandment to love. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, you should love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. V'ahavtem et hager, love the stranger because you were strangers in the land of Egypt. And so we have so many wonderful immigrant neighbors who've been swept up without any due process. Citizens and those who are not citizens, young and old, people who are documented, people who are working hard, living their lives, building up our city. We have seen this past week a terror that has come not only to our immigrant community, but to those who are just witnessing and watching and holding up their cameras. They are being terrorized by ICE and Border Patrol. This is not okay. At this moment, we need resolve. We need to turn. We need a path to citizenship for our hardworking neighbors who are here and enrich and build up our city every single day. So may we show love. May we show love for our neighbors. May we show love for all at this time in Charlotte. Thank you.
Next, we have North Carolina State House Representative.
All right, you were listening to that press conference from just a few minutes ago, actually, that just wrapped up about Charlotte Border Patrol being in Charlotte, the updates on those arrests and what local leaders are asking for, which is, of course, these ones here are asking for them to leave, and still some disagreement and confusion over when that will actually happen from our officials, both at the federal and local level. We're going to take a quick break and some more local headlines when we come back. Welcome back, almost 12:50 here in the Live Impact studio. And this is another big story that we are following today. Today marks 3 years since the disappearance of Madalena Kojikari, a Cornelius girl who was last seen 3 years ago leaving her school bus. That's the last known footage of her. And to this day, a lot of twists and turns in this case, but as of now, it still remains unsolved. So our Miles Harris is here marking this 3 years since. Miles, I know you got a chance to speak with police. What did they say today?
Yeah, I mean, this is still a case that's very heavy on their hearts, but also very top of mind for them as well, as they're trying to obviously get answers on where she may be in this case. And they're remaining optimistic that they can kind of find those clues, find those answers, relying on the community in doing so. But this is, like you mentioned, this is a very tough case because of some of the twists and turns. The biggest one, when I talked to CPD about this, that, you know, she went missing 3 years ago, well, that was last seen 3 years ago today, but was not reported missing until 3 weeks after the fact. So that's a really tough situation when you're trying to investigate a missing person case in this, because according to Cornelius PD. So that's a big element. And then the other element is finding the answers from the mom in this case as well. She's not even in North Carolina, really in the country at this point. She's in Moldova now. So they can't really get the answers on what they feel like she may know or may not know, and the whereabouts and the findings for that. And so those are two big hurdles that they're trying to really tackle in finding the answers to this case, but that's where they are with this right now.
And so no updates how long has it been since they got any sort of headway here in this case?
Yeah, so they didn't really give a whole lot of specifics on when they have last gotten a tip, but they are still taking tips, getting information from people in the community. You know, I got a chance to talk to some of the Facebook, at least a Facebook group admin in regards to this case. And so just to give a little bit of context, they're not even in North Carolina. They don't live here. They don't live in the state. And so this is something that's kind of alarming to communities even outside of Cornelius. And so they've been trying to do as much as they can as far as doing their due diligence and finding any tips, clues, pieces of information that could really help solve this. The answers, I guess, but this is just this has been something that's been obviously on, like I said, the top of mind for investigators in this case. And so not a whole lot of developments in this case. I feel like they're leaning a whole lot on trying to get information or hoping to get information from the mom in this case, but that's just not really been something that's been helpful for them of recently. So.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, pieces of confusion in this case is why did it take so long to report your daughter missing? I know that there hasn't been a whole lot of headway made recently, and 3 years later, with the parents living overseas, it must be very hard to make that headway and get some more information. But you say they're still optimistic. How is the community feeling in terms of, you know, this really sad milestone?
Yeah, it's just, again, it's the biggest thing is like there's so many questions with little answers, and it's not like investigators aren't trying to, and it's to get a concept of just how much this is still on their mind. You know, when I went to go do the interview with Cornelius Police Department, they still have signs outside of their door and inside their door kind of alerting the community, hey, this is still a missing person. They're looking for information. So that's something that I think is very good to see when you're dealing with cases like this, especially as we're kind of going into now year 3 that we still don't have any answers for. And so to know that they're still looking for this case or still looking for this person and hoping to get these questions answered is something that I think the community is good to be aware of, but also obviously investigators knowing that they're still trying to put those pieces together too. So
yeah, lots still to be uncovered here. Anything else people need to know ahead of your story?
They're still taking any tips or clues. Anybody that has any information, please, they're not shy of trying to take any of that information and trying to learn more about this case, any answers that they can get with this one though too. But again, they're still kind of remaining optimistic that they can find this missing girl. All
right, Miles, thank you. We'll see you again at 4 and 5.
Thank you.
All right. Carlene, do we want to take another quick break, or do we want to go to something? Oh, that is a good point. We got a special tonight on this very story. I believe Vanessa was a big piece of breaking down this whole case of the 3 years since, those updates and lack of updates that Miles just walked us through, and how we got to this point. Of course, that last footage you've seen a couple times now of Madalena walking off her school bus. Everything that we've known since then, we have a teaser here.
A bright 11-year-old with an infectious smile who disappeared after getting off her school bus in Cornelius in 2022.
From November the 22nd to December the 15th, 23 days went by where he didn't know the location of Madalena Kojikari.
Conflicting stories from her mother and stepfather, a boarded up bedroom, fires in the backyard of her home, secret recordings, and trips out of state.
Bottom line is she's a suspect in the disappearance of her own daughter.
Everyone's still asking, where is Madalena?
Our goal is to find Madalena, and we're not going to stop until we do.
The Search for Madalena, streaming on WCNC Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free.
And again, that will be at 9 p.m. tonight. Vanessa will be breaking down everything that we've known and that we've learned out, what we still have not answered, tonight at 9. We're going to take a quick break, but lots coming up, lots of stories we're following both here in Charlotte and nationally. Welcome back to Live Impact News here, almost 1 o'clock, but we want to get to yet some more developing news from across the country. We have some pictures here from Huntington Beach, California, and you can see it very clearly. The streets are flooded. Very rare sight for Southern California. This after their second storm of the week arrived yesterday. They had, moderate rainfall all over the region, but that's on top of what they'd already had earlier in the week, and so this really elevated that flood risk, and you can see that did come to fruition in some very heavily populated areas. This is near LA. This is in Southern California, for those of you who are not familiar with this region, and so very uncommon to see. I believe that they have they had a flood warning expire earlier this morning, and so things are expected to get better. You can see skies are quite a bit clearer, but even now that the rain is over and the sun's out, it's going to take some time for some of this flooding to subside.
Well, also the name of the game in Southern California is also mudslides, so that's a huge issue. If you have an abundance of rain in a place like Southern California, that's a huge concern.
Yeah, the residual effects.
Yeah, we've covered many a mudslide here on Live Impact News, so I understand, for us in the Carolinas, rain is rain, but to them, it's...
Yeah, the ground is not used to it. I mean, we're talking deserts and beaches that aren't used to this type of water or any water, and so it doesn't soak up in the same way that it would here where we're used to that humidity, especially in our soil. So this is definitely something we're going to keep an eye on. I know we're going to get probably some even more intense pictures
Yes.
of this, as the sun has now come out again. Same thing with Portland, they're 3 hours behind us, and so sun just coming out, we're just going to get some pictures.
The chopper seems like it's going to be going for a while, so we'll check back in.
Chopper's on a mission.
Yes.
We'll come back to the chopper. We are going to get back, though, to some local news, back to that press conference that wrapped up in the last 30 minutes or so with multiple state representatives, local leaders, local faith leaders, organizations, discussing Border Patrol and their deployment to Charlotte. Again, still trying to work out that confusion over, are they on their way out? Are they staying? Homeland Security says they are staying, but it sounds like Sheriff McFadden, Mecklenburg County Sheriff, received word that they were supposed to leave yesterday. So definitely some confusion happening here. But above all, it sounds like our local leaders are hoping that they leave.
Love for all at this time in Charlotte. Thank you.
Next, we have North Carolina State House Representative Julia Greenfield.
Good afternoon. I want to thank you all for being here. My name is Representative Julia Greenfield, and I am serving in my first term as a representative in the North Carolina General Assembly. This has been a very heartbreaking week for Charlotte. A week of fear, a week of uncertainty, a week where too many families felt the weight of their future pressing down on them, wondering what would happen next. For 7 days, ICE and CBP have been present in our neighborhoods. For 7 days, parents have whispered to their children, "Don't open the door." For 7 days, workers have texted their bosses, "I am afraid to come to work today." For 7 days, families have held their breath, literally held their breath, hoping their loved ones would make it safely through one more night. But Charlotte, we did not break. We locked arms, we stood tall, and we protected one another. Neighbors brought meals to families too afraid to leave their homes. Organizers worked around the clock to make sure accurate information reached the people who needed it the most. Faith leaders prayed with entire neighborhoods, offering sanctuary, strength, and courage. People who barely knew each other just last week became each other's lifelines. This is the spirit of the city. That is the fire of Charlotte, and no amount of fear will ever extinguish it. Now, we have been told that ICE and CBP are leaving our community today. But we've also heard the Department of Homeland Security has said that's not true. So what do we do? I know that many people want to believe that they are leaving. I know I'm one of them. And that would mean the fear will end. But we have learned something this week, something we cannot afford to forget. Relief must never replace vigilance, and hope must never silence preparation. Their departure, if it happens as stated, does not undo the trauma families felt this week. It does not instantly rebuild trust, and it certainly does not guarantee that this will never happen again. So yes, we do welcome the possibility of quiet in our streets again. But even if that is not yet to happen, we do not let down our guard. We do not stop checking on one another. We do not stop demanding transparency, respect, and fairness from any agency operating in our communities. Our strength is not measured by whether fear shows up. It's measured by how we respond when it does. And this week we responded with courage, with unity, and with love that refuse to be intimidated. And we will continue to do so. And to our immigrant families, I want you to hear me loudly and clearly. You are not guests here. You are part of us. You build our economy. You build our economy. You enrich our culture. You raise your children alongside ours, and you deserve to live without fear, without hesitation, and without having to explain your humanity to anyone. We must always remember, compassion is not weakness. Dignity is not negotiable. And a community that stands together is a force that cannot be pushed aside. We will continue watching closely. We will continue demanding answers. And we will continue standing shoulder to shoulder because that is what Charlotte does. Thank you.
Next, we will have Senator Mustafa Mohammed.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Representative Duke, for organizing. Manolo, if you don't mind, can I grab you? I really want to thank this gentleman for having a giant heart and not only just caring about himself and his family and his employees, but the greater community at large. So thankful for these amazing, powerful people. It speaks to the people in Washington, D.C. that our country is truly powered by the people, as you see back here today. So thank you, everyone, for being here. My name is Mujtaba Mohammed. I proudly represent the people of Mecklenburg County Senate District 38. And my message to President Trump's toy soldiers is that if you've left, good, stay gone. And under no circumstances should you ever return to our neighborhoods with these tactics ever again. Because what you brought to Charlotte wasn't safety, it was an abuse of federal power. Now I want to speak directly to the narrative coming out of Washington. President Trump and Secretary Noem would have us believe that they deployed Border Patrol to arrest the most violent and dangerous criminals. But the truth is, all they did was try to destroy communities, shutter businesses, taunting our neighbors to incite violence, separate families, and illegally detain citizens and legal residents without due process. That is not public safety. This is state-sponsored intimidation that shatters the most fundamental trust Americans hold in their government, in law enforcement, and in the promise of our beautiful country. When the federal government targets North Carolinians because of the color of their skin or the language they speak, every single American, regardless of political party or background, should be alarmed. Our nation has seen this before, from the forceful capture and detention of runaway slaves to World War II internment camps. They are weaponizing race and ethnicity to shake the foundations of our society. However, the world is witnessing that our communities, not only here in Charlotte but across this great state, are resilient, united, well-informed, and determined to hold power to account. Our neighbors have lined the streets like you see behind me today, safeguarded our schools and small businesses, and documented in real time the impacts of the Trump administration's staging of political theater and playing toy soldiers in the streets of Charlotte. If this administration truly wants to help us, there's real work to do. If you want to arrest violent offenders, do that. If you want to get fentanyl and traffickers off our streets, do that. If you want to arrest smugglers and those doing harm to our community, do that. But every single American supports that mission. But dragging people that simply want to work from a hardware store, grabbing people from a grocery store counter, or ambushing people in a parking lot as they rush to pick up their children from school does nothing to make our communities safer. This grotesque abuse of federal power does nothing to make North Carolinians safer. It only makes America less free for all of us. And as a proud child And as a proud child of immigrant parents, my message to the people here today and the people that are listening, there's no such thing ever to go back to where you come from. There's only going forward together, because this great country and nation belongs to each and every one of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we will have Reverend Erica Funk from Myers Park Presbyterian Church.
I am the daughter of an immigrant, but I am not afraid. I am the daughter of an immigrant who left her country at 18 years old because she knew she would never have the life that she wanted because of discrimination and violence. But I am not afraid. I am the daughter of an immigrant who came to this country with a heart of love and a passion for peace. She worked in neighborhoods in Los Angeles for the rights of those oppressed by police and systemic poverty. But I am not afraid. I am not afraid because I am brave, but because I am white.
Yeah.
Yes.
I am the daughter of an immigrant who taught me to care for others. Because my mother immigrated here as a Catholic woman from Northern Ireland, but her skin was not brown. If she had immigrated here to the U.S. 160 years ago, she would have been afraid, but not in 1950. We never lived in fear that we would be taken from our homes, our work, our faith homes. We were safe in the U.S. because we are white. Even though she immigrated here for the same reasons that many who have been disappeared came here, we were safe. And those of us who feel safe must stand up for those who do not feel safe. Not only because that is what it means to be a human being, but also because of what it means to be a person in the Judeo-Christian faith. Nowhere in the Hebrew or New Testament does it say to hate your neighbor or fear the foreigner. In fact, God repeatedly says, do not be afraid. And remember that you were once a stranger in a strange land. Treat others as you want to be treated. Scripture tells us to practice the fruits of the Spirit: gentleness, kindness, joy, and love. And to be perfectly clear to all the Christian nationalists out there, although I'm sure they are not listening, violence, hate, and kidnapping are not on that list. Whether the courts say that these detainments are legal or not, I say it is a hate crime. And I do not understand how someone who reads the same Bible as I do could disagree. Amen. Howard Thurman said, love, as critical as it is, must have a deep understanding of hatred. To fight against fear and hatred, we must reveal the anatomy of its development. In other words, rather than hate those who hate, we are called to recognize it as an untreated and unchecked cancer. As Martin Luther King said, for the salvation of our nation and the salvation of humankind, we must follow a different way. With every ounce of our energy, we must continue to rid our nation of the incubus of racial injustice. But in the process, we need not relinquish our privilege and obligation to love. Martin Luther King wrote that in his book called Chaos or Community. We have learned by now that this chaos, is a tactic by those who live in fear, but also who hold great power in our country. Sometimes we are so shocked by all that is happening here that we do not know how to process it all or what to do. Shock dismantles us and makes us vulnerable to the rhetoric of authority figures because we look for someone to make sense of it all. Naomi Klein, in her book, No Is Not Enough, writes that creating fear and shock makes us more willing to give up our rights for the greater good. When will someone tell us that the arrest and detainment of over 300 community members was worth the arrest of 4 alleged gang members? Someone will, and we must not submit to that spell. Jesus told us to love our neighbor, not only for the sake of our neighbor, but for ourselves. Hatred eats at our humanity, and it destroys the bond of humanity that we are created with. It feeds the wolf of fear. It diminishes our light, not just the light of those who hate. We can and should pray for those who hate. We can and we should stand up against it. Because you don't just pray cancer away, you treat it, you fight it, and you work to end its spread. I will follow my mother's legacy for the freedom of all people, especially those who are threatened or terrorized. And I will practice the fruits of the Spirit, patience, kindness, gentleness. And I hope you will join me in telling the empire that terrorism is not a fruit of the Spirit.
Next, we have Jasmine Wright from North Carolina's Black Alliance.
Good morning. As Aisha mentioned, I am Jasmine. I'm the Southwest Region Coordinator for North Carolina Black Alliance, Advanced Carolina. I'm standing with my friends and colleagues today because no one deserves to live in fear. At North Carolina Black Alliance, Advanced Carolina, we condemn the Trump administration's forceful removal of residents through unethical use of contracted agents under the guise of immigration enforcement. Our communities are all too familiar with historical erasure and displacements of citizens throughout our nation. From slave patrols to ICE, these actions do not make our communities feel safer. To my black folks, my American descendants of slaves in particular, who think this has nothing to do with you, you are absolutely wrong.
Talk about it.
Everyday people, citizens, are getting harassed, getting arrested and detained, simply going to work and living their lives, and it could very well just be you.
That's right.
We don't want to we don't want to be here again, y'all. We're living this over and over. So here we are standing, and here we're going to stay strong. If they leave today, I truly believe it when I see it. I honestly don't. And I'm glad that we're staying connected and stronger and united together to continue fighting this cancer that we just heard against these terrorists who are here in our city right now taking our friends and family. Again, I'm Jasmine, and I'm going to be fighting strong for my family and friends, and I hope that you all do the same, especially my folks who look just like me. Thank you, Aisha.
Next, we have Representative Laura Budd.
Good morning.
All right, we're going to take another quick break here. Of course, that was that presser from just about an hour or so ago in East Charlotte with multiple state representatives, local leaders, council members that are incoming, talking about Border Patrol and the impacts they've had so far and what they would like to see, which for many of these, it appears they would like to see them leaving. But again, at this point, we still do not have clarification on when or if that is happening. Conflicting reports from both Homeland Security and our county sheriff's office. So we're going to take a quick break and we'll come back to that in just a few minutes. Welcome back. Julie Kay here. It is 1:20 in the Live Impact studio, and we want to get to some developing news we have out of, I believe this is East Charlotte. Carlene has a map up. There's a large police presence, multiple police vehicles seen where this pin is. This is an apartment complex, Central Point Apartments at 4933 Central Avenue. So obviously an incredibly major roadway here, and we do have a photographer on the way to the scene to give us a live picture of what's happening here. We have not heard anything yet from CMPD, any local police, law enforcement about what's happening. But as I mentioned, this is just in the last few minutes. So we are, it's not unusual that we don't have much clarification yet. Just know that we do have someone on the way. This is at an apartment complex, multiple police crews seen, and we will bring you updates once our photographer gets there so that we can bring you hopefully what we know has happened here. We are going to get back actually right down the road to where this press conference was earlier today that wrapped up just in the last hour or so with multiple state representatives and local leaders about Border Patrol being in Charlotte.
I am Representative Laura Budd, and I am a proud member of the North Carolina General Assembly, and more importantly, those who stand in defense of democracy and the principles and ideals that are set out not just in the rule of law, but in the U.S. Constitution and the North Carolina Constitution. So this is a message to Donald Trump in the White House, who attempted to make a complete and utter mockery of democracy by raging and rampaging not just across the Queen City in Mecklenburg County, not just across the state of North Carolina, but across the cities and the towns through this nation. I have one message for you. You failed. You failed miserably. You will not succeed. And you will never be the kind of person that you want to be, and that is a true American who upholds the ideals, principles, and values of a democratic nation. And to the North Carolina Republican leadership, once again, you have failed North Carolina. Not only do we still not have a budget, which would actually increase the salaries of all law enforcement agencies and officials across the state, but you also failed to step in and defend citizens and residents in this state who have been detained unlawfully without due process and without their rights under the law. And you have done nothing but pay lip service to this idea of public safety and the idea of immigration law, when in reality, that's a lot of work and a heavy lift, and you've demonstrated that you are not fit to govern and lead. You are not. So it's time to step down and step away. Lead, follow, or get out of the way. Let's get this done and done right. We are under an antiquated immigration system of laws, and we have got to step up and make those reforms and demand leadership in Washington do the same. And just in case we need to take away a simple history lesson, it's been said once before that Charlotte was the hornet's nest of rebellion, and it was time to go. Well, guess what? Lord Cornwallis said that about 250 years ago. The same is true today. I stand with not just my fellow Charlotteans, but my fellow Americans and those who are here seeking safety, seeking a new life, seeking a way to raise their children to reach their potential, because isn't that what every child deserves, no matter where they are born or what their zip code is? Thank you. And as a final note, there will be a candlelight vigil here on Sunday at 6:30 p.m. And we invite all of the community to come and stand in solidarity and unity in remembrance of those who have been detained unlawfully, who are perhaps still detained, who have not been able to call home, who have not been able to speak with an attorney, and who have not been able to exercise their rights under the law of the United States, where they get due process and equal protection. It is a moment to stand with them and say, you have not been forgotten, nor will you be forgotten. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will have Tal Chaudhry and Hadia Mubarak.
Good morning. I'm here from the Charlotte Muslim community with my brother, Talha Chaudhry. As siblings in humanity, our fates are all intertwined. Most importantly, the struggles of marginalized and oppressed people around the world are all connected. Because when we look deeper, the justifications used to oppress any group of people are all one and the same, They are embedded in ideologies of racial supremacy and othering. When my father fled the dictatorship of his native Syria in 1979, he chose to become an American because of its respect for human dignity, its protection of religious freedom, and its fair judicial process it upholds for all people. As a proud American, my family could never imagine that our country would become a place where our government wielded its power to terrorize its own residents and citizens, racially profiling people for their Latino heritage, violently arresting them without due process, destroying their property, and arresting and creating fear of a government that is elected to protect its people, not to harm them. Today, we are witnessing a dangerous devolvement of our country's democracy with an administration that wields the power of government to punish its citizens and legal residents who disagree with its policies. With every political detainee the Trump administration throws behind bars, with every legal immigrant it attempts to deport, with every U.S. tax dollar it pays foreign countries to bomb a people who are entrapped in a 25-mile radius, our country is moving away from the values of justice, freedom, and security that made our country great to begin with. The struggle to eradicate systems of violence and suffering is a collective struggle. It requires each and every one of us. It must begin by resisting the rhetoric of dehumanization, the rhetoric that justifies atrocities against people by labeling them as criminal or terrorist, a rhetoric that renders people too threatening or invisible to humanize. It requires courage and a strong moral compass to reject the racist rhetoric that inflicts real violence on the bodies of our brothers and sisters in humanity, a rhetoric that turns a blind eye to the suffering of people in our country, and a rhetoric that ignores the harm inflicted upon people overseas in our country's name. Morality and courage require us to align ourselves with the suffering, the oppressed, the victims, even if it's unpopular, even...
All right, we're going to break into this for just a quick moment because we do have that image up from the police presence I mentioned in East Charlotte. A photographer just got to the scene. And again, still waiting to find out what actually happened here, but you can see how many police cars are there even 20, 30 minutes after we first got this report in. So still at least, I'm seeing 5 or 6 cars at least. Kevin, our photographer on the scene there, is kind of going through right now and getting some close-ups, some wide shots, and hopefully about to go talk to some officials to figure out what actually happened here. This is at an apartment complex, or at least right outside near it. We're not sure exactly where any sort of incident happened, but you can see, okay, that's an officer with a large gun in hand actively. And so it's quite possible that this scene is still active here on Central Avenue. So a major road that this is off of. I would avoid this area if you can. This is 4933 Central Avenue, the Central Point Apartments. And again, I don't know if this happened inside or just outside the apartment, but
Or
looks
near it.
Near it.
This is right near Sharon Amity, if you're familiar, which is also a busy road.
Yeah.
So this is just...
We all know that what the traffic is like in East Charlotte.
This might be, just full transparency here, this might be Kevin feeding back video.
It appears, yeah.
So if you're wondering why it's jumping around, that's what
why.
It appears to be. So
even there though,
we're seeing the scenes for sure.
Yeah, so you can see just how expansive the scene is based on how many different shots that he's gotten, and they're not all in the same location. He's clearly gotten up and moved around quite a bit, but I'm seeing dozens of police officers from different agencies, it appears here. Very curious to find out what has happened. Hopefully we get some more clarity in the next hour or so, but we will check back in as soon as we get something. Like I said, Kevin is still there on scene getting video, and hopefully waiting for a public information officer that can give us some more information. Carlene, do we want to take a quick break? What do we want to do?
Yeah, let's take a quick break, but I'm wondering why...
Oh.
I'm wondering why a gun appears to be drawn? Or they're just checking?
Yeah.
Okay. It looks like they were just like checking and clearing it. Okay.
Yeah, but interesting, to be able to watch this happen
in real time.
Yeah, we don't always get this close to a scene. Yes. So especially off such a busy road, it's hard for them to really tell people to get back.
Yes.
So interesting just to see this perspective. But yeah, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in 2 minutes. All right, welcome back to Live Impact News. Here it is 1:33, and I just want to remind you again, if you're just checking in from the break, we are still following that breaking news off Central Avenue in East Charlotte. We do have a crew there. You just saw that video if you were with us before the break. But again, we don't know what that police presence is for at this point. Still hoping to get some information. But as you saw, still a very active scene. Dozens of police cars off these Central Point apartments. Again, we're not sure if this is even related to the apartments, but that is what the address is listed as. So hoping to find out what happened there in the next 30 minutes or so as our crew is on scene. But we do have more to cover on Border Patrol, of course. That has been the big story of the last week or so. You've heard from that press conference earlier today with multiple local leaders, state representatives on the response to Border Patrol being in Charlotte. Still some conflicting reports on how long Border Patrol will continue to be here or if they're moving on to New Orleans anytime soon. But I know that this has caused a lot of just grassroots help from people supporting those who are concerned about these raids, who are fearful of this altercations that we've seen all over the internet. So our Walker Lawson actually checked in with some of those groups that are helping people out. Walker, what have you learned today?
Yeah, well, it was really awesome. I got to go out to a neighborhood to meet with a ton of local community members. And of course, we're going to keep the location a secret, I guess, as you would say for now, because they don't want, this to draw attention or to become a bigger thing. But basically, it is a group of local parents and moms that have come together, moms, dads, I should say. There are some dads there too, but majority moms there that were basically they are getting calls in from families that are scared to send their kids to school, scared to go to the grocery store. Obviously, we've heard about the fears. We saw those numbers come in on Monday for the number of CMS students that didn't attend schools. And so they took it upon themselves as to basically become a help organization in a sense for these people. So they are taking orders, packing bags, whether it's a food, essential items, and it's really incredible. They have over 100 volunteers that have stepped up in their community to come together, and they've transformed. One lady's transformed her home and basically turned it into this workshop in a sense to get all of this done. They're in there packing orders, making calls. They have people out there organizing all of the bags to then put them into cars. They have people that are driving these things to people's houses. And it's really incredible to see in a time where, ever since COVID, a lot of people say people don't really know their neighbors as much, or they're not really out and about. And it really is kind of cool to see people stepping up and taking this initiative upon themselves to try to make sure that people in this community get the items that they need and to make sure their kids get to school.
I know that it's really been pretty amazing to see multiple grassroots efforts now of people just stepping up, willing to help. Did the people involved in this give you any more insight into why they decided it was time to help?
Yeah, they said that a lot of them, I think it really came down to school at first, because some of them have significant others that are teachers at different schools, and they really saw what was happening and decided that this was the chance to step up. Something that's really interesting that you'll hear in my story tonight is they also have people that are driving kids to school, because there are Latino families here in Charlotte that their parents don't want to leave the house to go take their kids to school because there are fears of where Border Patrol might be set up, where they're stationed, who they're stopping, what they're doing. And so these parents are not only taking their own kids to school, but they are picking up other kids based on who's reaching out and who's responding to them. And she said, we're placing air tags on the first day. They placed air tags onto these kids, and the parents were shaking, sending their kids off with a random stranger that they really don't know, but maybe, goes to their kids go to the same school. They said their kids are friends with these kids, and there is a lot of fear in that, but now they have now begun to learn who each other are, and the parents have, so they feel a little bit safer and a little bit more comfortable doing it. But it's really crazy to just hear and see it. And, they had a lot of hesitation to even do this story with us. This is something, and any media outlet from my understanding, because they don't want it to compromise the mission of what they're trying to do. You and I know this being reporters, there are a lot of good things that people do, and they don't want the credit for it on TV. And they don't ask for it, and they don't want to talk about it. They just want to do their thing and quiet. And so it's really cool to get the opportunity for them to speak and to show us kind of what they're doing.
And I know in the spirit of maintaining privacy and security, people still might want to know how to help if they can, or people who need the help, they might want to know where to get it. So what did you get on that front?
Yes, so they did provide us, and we will attach it in our story for ways to reach out to them and ways to assist. But again, as I mentioned, we're keeping location and last names off of the story in order to try to make sure that they feel comfortable continuing their operations. But we will attach all of that information on our story that airs tonight on how you can help, because that is something that they do need. They do have people that are out shopping and assisting, but they still need people to donate items in order to make sure people have food on the table and essential items in their homes.
All right, Walker, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you later on in our newscast. All right, we're going to take another quick break. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Welcome back to Live Impact News. Julie Kay here. I wanted to give you a brief update on that Central Avenue police presence outside of that apartment complex region. We do still have that feed. Our photographer is there, and it looks like right now a suspect is being detained. But for the sake of, we do not know what this person did, if anything, and we don't know what has happened here. We're not going to show this video right now, but we are hoping, because we're seeing this, that we get some more information soon. So just wanted you to know that things are moving on that front, and we're hoping to get some clarity soon. But active police presence, potentially active arrest happening right now, potentially. And so we're going to come back to that later on when we have some more actual concrete updates as opposed to this video. But now we're going to head back to that press conference just down the road from this in East Charlotte from earlier today.
Everything. This is the way of the prophets, the way of those who taught humanity everything we know about God and living a God-centered life. It is that every human life has value, that no one's life is greater than another in the eyes of God. And during these times, we must stand together, recognize our common struggle for justice, and reject the policies and rhetoric that divide us. As the Muslim American community in Charlotte, we stand with our Latino brothers and sisters in humanity and all who are targeted by the current administration. Everyone deserves the dignity, freedom, and due process that America promises for all. I want to introduce my brother. 2 weeks ago, he became a video about him answering a phone call to help a young woman who needed infant formula became viral because of his humanity, because of his sincerity. He did not know it was a TikTok video. He did not know it was a social experiment, but it's his faith, his morality, the lessons in the Quran that taught him to respond with that compassion. Thank you, Khalha.
Thank you, sister. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I'm a little nervous to be here today, but I felt like I had to be here to show that we're standing with our Hispanic brothers and sisters that are going through some trying times. So as Muslims, that's what we're supposed to do, is stand up for our neighbors. So that's why I'm here today. A little nervous, so please excuse me, first time doing this. Peace be upon you all. We gathered today as one family under God, united by our shared humanity. In moments of hardship, we are reminded that every soul is precious and every family is sacred. Families together, families belong together. And when they're divided, the heart of our community aches. Our tradition teaches us that mercy, compassion, and justice are not just ideals. They are divine commands. As a Muslim leader, I stand here not only for my own community, but for all who suffer. To protect families, to honor dignity, to welcome the stranger is to walk in the path of God's mercy. This is not about one group or one people. It is about all of us. When our Hispanic brothers and sisters face pain, we feel it too. When families are separated, we are all diminished. Today we affirm that Muslims, Christians, Jews, Latinos, blacks, whites, immigrants, and native born, we are one family, bound together by God's love. We call on our leaders and our neighbors to remember that true strength lies in unity, not division. A nation is blessed when it protects its families, when it uplifts the vulnerable, and when it chooses compassion over fear. In my closing statement, I just want to say this. Let us leave here today with hearts open and hands joined. Let us be the voices of harmony, the builders of bridges, the guardians of family. Together we can create a community where no one feels alone, where every child is embraced, and where every family is whole. May God guide us, bless us, and keep us united in peace. Thank you so much.
Next we will have Senator Joyce Waddell.
Hello everyone, and thank you Aisha for setting up this conference. I wanted to say to you today that we're not going to let Washington and Donald Trump tell us what to do. We are in this community and we know what to do. We're all in this together, and together we're stronger. When we say together, we means watching out for each other. We means keeping each other's back. It is heartbreaking to go to a laundromat and see that our brothers and sisters that don't look like us cannot go there to their laundry, that they have to run. It is heartbreaking to go to the grocery store and see agents coming in and arresting people. We are better than this in Charlotte. It is heartbreaking to know that the restaurants that employ many of our Latino friends cannot operate. We cannot let Washington tell us what to do. We must know that we are stronger together, that we must watch out for each other. As a personal note, I was in a parking lot and was surrounded by agents. They were not going to let anybody leave there until they knew who you were, until they were able to make some arrests. But we were able to get out. Cars blocked us in, and I was the one that was blocked in, could not move. I went to my favorite restaurant and looked around. It was closed. Could not even get a hot dog. We are better. One of the things that I said we should do then, because I worked with a lot of immigrants, we went and made notes, Xerox papers, and put in all of those doors to say, these are numbers you should call, these are some things that you should be doing. And so I say to us today, we're here together, we're strong, and we're stronger together. Stay strong. Continue to look out for each other. Because after all, we are here together. Sometimes we don't always look together. We don't look alike, but we're in this together. We cannot let outsiders come in and tell us what to do. Stay strong. Stay strong. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Representative Becky Carney.
So I'm here today, and I've served this community for almost 30 years, county commission at large, and then going to Raleigh. Never in my born days that I would be here today, standing here facing all of these cameras, that yet is going to send this story out to so many people about what's happening in my beloved state. I was born to a grandfather. My grandfather at the time I was born was a Baptist minister. I was raised in the church. My whole life I've been a Christian. So often we're afraid to speak from a political standpoint about our Christianity. But it is who I am. It is what made me. And that is to love everyone, no matter where you are from, no matter your walk of life, no matter your status, no matter the color of your skin. I was raised that way. I was raised during the days when the only time I could see, or the first time that I saw international news was in a, as they called them then, the picture show at the theater, where they would roll films of old history or current history from around the world. I would go home and ask my dad about some of those things I heard at a young age. And one was there was a procession of a man standing on a balcony and hundreds of soldiers marching in clear unison. It impressed upon this child the formation that they were in. Every move was synchronated. And they would go by this man standing on the balcony and raise their arm in salute. I went home and asked my daddy, what was that about? And my daddy told me, in terms for a child to maybe grasp. Of course, when I heard it, it went over my head, but here we are today. My dad told me that he said, you know, honey, You know how you get to go to the school of your choice? You know how you get to go to Papa's church and worship the God you want to worship? Those rights will be taken away. That's what that form of government does. One person tells a whole country what to do and when you can and can't do it. But I grew up, I think, resisting that. I became involved with many community activities, marches. That was not in my family lineage, but for me, my groundbreaking in life was through the church and through people. I cannot believe that out of all these years, what I have suffered in my own personal life health-wise, that I am actually here today. I have died at my desk. You all know that. You've heard it. But I came back. And people asked me, are you going to run again? I said, I'm afraid not to. I have no idea what God has planned for me. But as long as I stand erect, I can move my feet, and I can think with my heart and soul and mind. I will keep serving the people, no matter the capacity. I have been doing it all my life, and you know my age, 80 years. And I'm not ready to quit yet. I'm not stepping down. I am moving ahead, and I am being led by my God, my country, and my community, and the people that I have worked for hard. I do want to say this about all of my colleagues here today and those in our delegation in Mecklenburg. We have been a clear voice in both chambers, standing up and speaking out and trying to stop legislation, and it fell on deaf ears in that building in Raleigh. But I don't want it to fall on deaf ears in this community as we are at this turning point in our state. We can do this together. I wanted to read a letter that the clergy at my church, St. Peter's Episcopal, sent out. And when I read that, I thought, what will I say today to these people? Who am I to tell them what you're going through? But I'm telling you, we do have compassion as elected leaders. We do care. We work hard. And we're there only because of the love of our community. If you don't mind, I'll take the time. I know there are other people that are to speak, but this is what propelled me today and reminded me of who I am. I hope it speaks to a lot of you. Dear people of St. Peter's, grace and peace to you in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. In recent days, many in our community have felt growing sense of fear and uncertainty in response to increased immigration enforcement activity by U.S. Border Patrol here in Charlotte. Some of our immigrant neighbors, many of whom are long-standing members of our parishes, our schools, and our workplaces, are living with real anxiety about their safety, their families, and their future. As the body of Christ, we are called to acknowledge this moment with clarity, compassion, and the unwavering love that our faith demands of us. Throughout Scripture, we are reminded again and again to welcome the stranger, for in doing so, we welcome Christ himself. Our baptismal covenant calls us to
All right, you've been listening into that press conference from that just wrapped up about an hour ago with multiple Charlotte leaders, Charlotte elected officials, state representatives on Border Patrol being here, still deployed, again, still working to get that information on when or if they will be leaving to head on to their next assignment, which is expected to be New Orleans, but some disagreement between Department of Homeland Security, the federal government, and our local county officials here. So still some questions unanswered. That press conference, of course, pushing to get some of those answers quicker than we have been. We are going to turn now, though, to the other big story of the day, which is, of course, 3 years since the disappearance of Madalena Kojikari, a young girl who went missing, and that footage that we keep playing is just so stark to see it playing over and over again. There you see it. There she is leaving the bus. That is the last footage that we have of her from 3 years ago today. Now, we do want to bring in Meg. Megan, you've been looking into some of the questions that people have about this,
Yeah.
which is a lot of them.
I mean, and we have so many questions too, right?
Yeah.
We've been following this case so tightly for years, and it's crazy to just like continue to see that footage like you just showed, and really after the court cases and everything, hear all these details and still nothing, and she's still not found is really what it is. But
Yeah.
all right, so what we were doing today for Verify is what consists of a cold case. So what makes something a cold case? What doesn't make something a cold case? Because some people are like, is this a cold case yet? Because they haven't found her. Well, digging into this a little bit, the National Institute of Justice says a cold case is any case where all investigation leads have been exhausted. So there's really no length of years. It's just like when they are just like everything has been exhausted. Now, reporter Miles Harris, he spoke with Cornelius Police today, the police chief, and they were saying that this is not a cold case. They are still actively looking into this every day, trying to find more evidence, more leads, all of that stuff. So they want to make sure that everybody knows that they are continuing to work on this. This is not considered a cold case. But there are differences when it does come to cold cases, and that includes not just homicides, but it is unsolved murders, missing people, and pretty much unidentified people. So if they find, a body and no one can identify them, that's considered a cold case as well. In specific agencies, it varies from agency to agency for these definitions. So it just depends, but we do have some statistics, which we love, especially for Verify. So there's this program and a project called Murder Accountability Project, and they found that 80% of homicides have been solved in North Carolina. So from 1965 to 2023 is that data. There's still 6,600 unsolved cases so far in the state from that time period. So 80% of homicides have been solved, which is, a good chunk of it. Also, too, in 2020, the NCSBI did start this cold case investigation team. So it does help local agencies with these cold cases. And that has actually significantly helped, obviously, because more resources. Sure. There's more data. There's more technology in finding, people and, murder weapons or DNA or whatever, right?
Especially for some of those smaller agencies that may need a little bit more.
1,000%. So, so that has definitely helped. But like I said, right now they're not considering this a cold case. But I do have to point out that it has been 3 years. Diana Korjakari, which is the mother who did not report her missing for 23 days, is in Moldova at this time, which we still believe that's according to her Facebook page. So it is very interesting, and your heart goes out to that little girl, and hopefully something will come about. But yeah, we will continue to look into this and investigate as much as we can, because I know that there are so many questions right now. And I know that you're about to push out this Vanessa's thing, but that documentary that we put together, that Vanessa put together and our editors, oh my gosh, it is like a Netflix documentary. It's very, very good, because we obviously get to watch before everybody else. So I've been watching it, and it is so, so good. So everyone really needs to watch it at 9 o'clock tonight.
She does a fantastic job.
Fantastic job.
Really, really a labor of love. I mean, this has been a very important case for the entire community, but Vanessa in particular.
Yeah.
I know Jesse has done a lot of work on it
Jesse,
too.
yep.
But people especially who have been here for longer than I have and have seen this case from the beginning and just seen it kind of not hit a dead end, but hit kind of a stall. What's hard too, and I think that's why this particular question of is this a cold case is so interesting, is because somebody who might have more information exists, they're just not here, and there's no way for police to really access them. So that makes things a lot more complicated.
And before too, we did a Verify on Moldova, and if they have extradition, if we share extradition laws with them, and so they don't, so like even if we try to extradite anybody, like they can be like no. So yeah,
Interesting.
Very interesting.
Well, Megan, thank you very much.
Yeah,
I know
of
we'll see you
course.
again at, for traffic, but also at 6:15.
Yes, 6:15. Yep.
All right.
I'll be there.
We're going to take another quick break. We'll be back in, actually, just kidding. Carlene, tell me again. We are going to push that special.
Push it out.
Yes, since you just mentioned it, yes, that is at 9 p.m. And Vanessa, as Megan and I were just talking about, did a fantastic job putting it together. It really timelines the last 3 years of the case from that footage that we keep showing you, the last time she was seen, to now when we kind of hit this stall in evidence and still trying to exhaust those leads, but kind of running into some trouble. So let's take a look at this teaser we put together.
A bright 11-year-old with an infectious smile who disappeared after getting off her school bus in Cornelius in 2022.
From November the 22nd to December the 15th, 23 days went by where he didn't know the location of Madeline the coach car.
Conflicting stories from her mother and stepfather, a boarded-up bedroom, fires in the backyard of her home, secret recordings, and trips out of state.
Bottom line is she's a suspect in the disappearance of her own daughter.
Everyone's still asking, where is Madalena?
Our goal is to find Madalena, and we're not going to stop until we do.
The Search for Madalena, streaming on WCNC Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free.
Again, at 9 p.m. tonight, as Meg said, it is really, really well put together and definitely something that you should all watch, particularly if you've been following this case for a long time like we have, or if you
haven't, if you're brand new to it.
And you want to get up to date.
It's very extensive.
Yeah.
Vanessa put a lot of time and effort and blood, sweat, and tears into this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Very
worth a
important
watch.
work. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Welcome back to WCNC Live Impact News. This is also something we're following today. WCNC got a chance to get a preview of Mecklenburg County Adoption Day. They're going to honor 89 children who found their forever families this past year. So a really, really sweet story and something that we want to bring attention to, of course. A really special process adoption is. It's also very complicated. And so when things work out the right way, we want to make sure we celebrate it. So here's this interview from earlier this week.
On November the 22nd, 2025 at 10 o'clock a.m. at the Mecklenburg County Courthouse, Mecklenburg County will celebrate all of the families that we've completed adoptions for. That includes our agency adoptions as well as our private adoptions. It is a day full of celebration about our families that have opened up their homes, but more importantly, their hearts. Celebrating 89 families this year for Adoption Day means that we have created permanence for 89 children. It means that they have found their forever families. It means that they can go on and continue to thrive, be loved, be nurtured, and be able to turn into their best selves because they have solidified permanence. The importance of celebrating 30 private adoptions is what we coined them as, which means, again, our step-parents, our grandparents, our other relatives, or other persons who've stepped up, is that, again, they've created permanence for a child. That means a child is included in a family. They get the opportunity to be loved, to be cherished every day, to be nurtured. So the importance of those are no different from the ones that our agency serves, is that children find their forever families. Currently in Mecklenburg County, we have 389 children in care. Some of those children are placed with relatives because we are a Kin First agency, and so we do seek out family members. But there are some who that is not an option for, and so we are always in dire need of foster placements. I would encourage everyone as a community to go to our website, mecnc.gov, read the information that pertains to becoming a licensed foster parent, and that's one of the ways as a community we can step up for the children that are in care to provide them permanence. If you are uncertain about any of the information that is provided there, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We are more than welcome to answer any questions that you may have. I think sometimes the myth is people go, I don't have enough money, I don't have the space. We can have that conversation with you to kind of debunk those myths so that you can be certain that this is something that you want to do. I tell people all the time, it's not necessarily always stepping up as a foster parent, but it also is rallying around those who choose to do so and becoming their village and their community. So there are several ways that we can help, but again, if you'll visit mecnc.gov to find more information. So anytime that a child comes into custody and we're looking for placements, we are always thinking long term. So again, when we have an exorbitant number of foster families, that makes that transition a little easier because we're able to place children who naturally grow in this family, and eventually these families could turn into adoptive families or adoptive placements. Same thing when we're placing with kinships. We're always looking at the long-term goal. Is this going to be, could this be a permanent placement for the child should that occur? So again, just making sure that we have enough placements so that children can get in sync with the family, start that bonding process that ultimately may turn into an adoptive placement. Our agency always chooses the carnival theme. It is kid-like, it is family-friendly, it is just a good time. This year we will have food trucks, we will have corn dogs, we will have face painting, we will have so many activities that will just engage families and be able to celebrate them in this milestone that they have chosen as a family. Of course, the superheroes will have Mecklen Bear, just anything that is fun, that is lighthearted, that just lets them know that they are appreciated again for opening up their homes, but more importantly, their hearts.
And we're going to get another check of your forecast with Majestic Storm ahead of your weekend.
Well, good Friday afternoon to you. I'm WCNC meteorologist Majestic Storm, and let me just say, it's not the most beautiful Friday, but overall our weekend ahead is not that bad. We've had passing showers on again, off again this morning, and now as we're heading into the afternoon, especially up there in the mountains, we're going to be holding on to mainly cloudy skies, even there in Dallas. However, the silver lining is this. Our temperatures, they're not going to be cold today. They're still going to rise above our average. We should be into the lower end of the 60s, and today in the Queen City, we're still forecasting temperatures to rise still back into the low 70s. Now, we have another system approaching tonight and into early Saturday morning, and with that one, we could see more widespread rain and some isolated thunderstorms. It's going to be early Saturday morning, so early that they may wake you up, maybe your kids up, maybe your dogs, but then most of the day on Saturday, not looking too bad after that. Sunday looks fantastic, and we're going to be holding on to above average temperatures, taking us straight into our Thanksgiving, and then we'll start to see much cooler temperatures after that. This is how our day plays out. You can still see cloudy skies for our Friday and really into the overnight hours, holding on to cloudy conditions as well. That'll keep those temperatures very mild. If you're in the mountains today, hopefully you have that umbrella handy. We're seeing those scattered showers in the mountains already. Upper 50s, low 60s there. In the foothills, planned for upper 60s and some low 70-degree temperatures. Right around Charlotte, low 70s mainly, and just south of us, it's going to be a similar setup. Look at these temperatures over the next 3 days. We have a good chance of beating a record on Saturday, a daily high record. We're going to be nearing again almost 80 degrees come Saturday. But remember, the first part of Saturday, early in the morning, it's going to be active, and then it clears out. It could be a little muggy at times as well, especially after all that rain. Sunday, low 70s, a great day to head off to church, to brunch, maybe the golf course as we're heading into Monday. Upper 60s still, so still very comfortable conditions. We've had passing rain showers, pretty spotty to scattered this morning and into the afternoon. That'll continue into the later half of our afternoon and into the evening as well. So cloudy, but still pretty mild. I want to start and stop actually our futurecast here at 2 o'clock Saturday morning. So while most of us are asleep, this is likely when we'll start to see a few of those thunderstorms pass through, and likely those thunderstorms will bring brief heavy downpours. You can see those little pockets of oranges and yellows. Here's 4 o'clock in the morning. That's what we'll likely hear, rumbles of thunder, and also we could even see some lightning strikes as well. But notice as we progress through time, early in the day on Saturday, by the time the sun rises, by the time you're getting out of bed, most of the rain will be out of our area, gradually clearing skies. We'll watch for these sneaky storms that may pop up late in the day on Saturday, but I really think most of the activity that we get tomorrow will be earlier in the day. There's our planner for Saturday if you have any plans, and a lot of our indications is still showing that above average temperatures, we get to hold on to them for several more days. We'll start to feel some of that cooler air seep into our area come Thanksgiving, but then really the first full week of December seems like it could get really cold again. Look at these nice temperatures. Into the 70s we go. Eventually those lows dip down into the 50s from Thanksgiving and after that, and those lows back down right around freezing. There's that Jerry Hunt Supercenter 7-day forecast. Get outside and enjoy the very mild temperatures this weekend while they last.
.2:15 here. We're going to take another quick break. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Welcome back to Live Impact News. We're going to get back to some of the things that we've had to cut short because of live events happening, live press conferences, and some breaking news. So we're going back to this press conference from earlier today in East Charlotte with local officials, local representatives speaking about the Border Patrol raids that have been going on over the past couple days.
We are reminded again and again to welcome the stranger, for in doing so we welcome Christ himself. Our baptismal covenant calls us to seek and serve Christ in all persons, loving our neighbor as ourselves, and to strive for justice and peace among all people. These commitments do not change because times are tense. If anything, they grow more urgent. When enforcement actions vary, the presence of federal agents in neighborhoods and near workplaces has led many immigrants, documented and undocumented, to limit travel and avoid public places. Some families are even preparing emergency plans. Some parents are afraid to drive their children to school. In moments like this, it's our witness that matters. What can you do? You can pray persistently. You can get informed attending one of the upcoming community trainings. Support initiatives that match your gifts and interests. You can advocate for change. But it was with that charge that I thought this morning, I can read this, but I need to speak from my heart and how I have taken my call and my charge to heart. I thank you all for being here today, and I hope that our message gets out to other people. Where there is faith, there is hope, and that's what we have to stand on. Our faith that hope will get us through, and it will. One last thing, I will direct you to a bill that was that the governor vetoed, and it was passed in the Senate. Overrode it, came to the House. It's Senate Bill 153. A lot of people think that what we've done here is that the Border Patrol are here legally in our state. And they are not. By our state, we passed that bill, but the governor vetoed it. There were 13 Republicans that voted, that were absent. They had an excused absence. When you look at that, and when I looked at that vote count, I thought, and reread the status of this bill, it said to me, there's hope. We can still stop it, but it's going to take the people to get involved, know what the laws are in Raleigh, know what has been passed, know and understand them, and ask us. We stand available whenever you need us. But I thank you all for today. I thank Aisha Du for preparing this today and having one here. And I want to say to Mr. Manal, I was here when you opened that day as the county commissioner. I am heartbroken for what you've done. But thank you. You're an example of my service in this community. Thank you.
Now we have Kelly Morales from Siembra.
The Customs and Border Patrol convoy that arrived in our state last Friday and here in Charlotte has departed to I-85. We have photos and videos captured by other drivers that they traveled down south I-85 and have removed their local command center post at the Charlotte FBI office, at least 1 week earlier than many reporters with CBP sources said they would. It's hard to call that any kind of victory when there are hundreds of our people most likely still in custody right now. Parents whose children never got to welcome them home. Workers who made it possible for us to be the so-called best state for business. The lawless actions of these federal agents disrupted our communities and cost us millions of dollars in economic damages, beyond the immeasurable harm of people trapped inside of their homes, panicked and fearful for each other. Millions of our taxpayer dollars were spent on vehicles, equipment, hotels, and holding cells. Altogether, that is millions of dollars that could have been put towards health care that we can actually afford. Fully funded public schools for our children, and other real investments that create real, true safety in cities across the state. Yeah. But through our work, and that of many other organizations, we made this early announced exit by Border Patrol possible. We formed care brigades, receiving lines outside of schools and saying early warnings when we spotted agents in parking lots. Hundreds of people picked up each other's kids, covered each other's shifts, alerted their communities, and stepped up to lead volunteer teams that sprang up overnight, demanding that CBP leave our state. Over 2,400 people attended in-person trainings that Siembra NC hosted this week in Charlotte, Gastonia, and Hickory. Another 920 attended 2 virtual trainings with members of the Chicago group Defend Rogers Park, who flew from Charlotte to share their strategies with us. Dozens of hotline volunteers answered over 4,000 phone calls, fielding rumors and calls for support after detention from around the state. More than 1,000 people participated in the Safe to Work, Safe to School safety patrols in Mecklenburg, Wake, Durham, Orange, Johnston, and Wayne and Wilson counties. Faith leaders spoke out fiercely against these operations, hosting trainings and leading shifts of teams on patrol. Dozens of business owners took steps to prevent harassment and unlawful intrusions by federal agents. State representatives, state senators, members of school boards, county and city officials all joined safety patrols alongside members of their community and looked to identify policies that could immediately adopt to promote real safety. Together, we delivered a clear message in North Carolina. If we want real safety, CBP's operations must end. But even as we saw some of their rental cars that pass through, some of them through South Carolina state line, CBP said, we aren't actually leaving. And here's what we think they meant to say. You're not safe. Immigrants are not safe. People heading to school and work are not safe. That's what they were really trying to say. And we should believe that threat and that they intend to follow through with it. These agents, whose lawlessness has been condemned by federal judges in Illinois, could return any time. Even before the announced operation, let's be clear. Federal immigration agents were already here, and they still continue to be. The Charlotte ICE office is one of the largest in the South, and since January, we have watched ICE dramatically increase the amount of early morning traffic stops that have ended in prison cell in Georgia for thousands of North Carolinians on their way to work and school. So now is not the moment to stop. It is the moment to keep building. Today and tomorrow, Siembra NC will continue to host escalation and de-escalation and how to get to work and school safety trainings in Mecklenburg and Wake counties, building on the 2,400 people who have attended these trainings between Saturday and Thursday of the past week. There, we will explain how we all can continue to ensure that everyone in our community can make it to work and get to their kids to school safely. There is no doubt that our community will continue to demonstrate what it truly means to have a safe city that looks what a true safe city looks like and feels like. But the question remains for every elected official and candidate in the state. Does snatching people on their way to work and school make us safer? No. Every North Carolinian deserves an answer, and silence is not an option. The mayor of Monroe, Robert Burns, isn't being quiet. He said this week that Border Patrol is welcome in his city, which is 30% Latino, that Union County residents should have nothing to fear, even as they sheltered in place, even as construction sites and grocery stores sat empty. We call on every elected official to join us in affirming that neither Border Patrol nor ICE makes us safe, and use their power as policymakers to ensure that our cities expand safety to all. Ours should be a state where every single person can live their lives with dignity and can get to school and work safely.
Amen.
Thank you. So we are about to wrap up, and we will have Spanish coming up shortly. Next, though, we will have the president of the Mecklenburg NAACP, Corinne Mack.
Grace and peace. I want Beth to come stand beside me because we've been out in the streets for the last 7 days. We're in a critical time right now. And this is not a time to perform. It's a time to determine how you are going to commit to ensure that every resident of Mecklenburg is safe. Dr. Martin Luther King said, in the throes of the fight for civil rights, that an open hand is more powerful than a closed fist.
Amen.
We have watched for the last 7 days many residents of Mecklenburg come together with an open hand and an open heart. That is how we create true, impactful, tangible change. I want to make clear that Border Patrol may have said they're going to South Carolina or New Orleans, but ICE has been here for over 5 years. And the belief is they have been emboldened by the last 7 days' actions in our city. I honestly believe with all my heart, as a woman of God, knowing that God is love, that love must be the foundation of everything we do and everything we are.
Amen.
But love is an action word. We must show love. I also believe this is a teachable moment. Many people know that they voted against their self-interest. We must be real and honest about what's going on here. And it's not about one man. It is about the ideology and how they see people of color. As a black woman who's been on this earth for 68 years, I've lived all 68 years understanding as a black woman that I was hated by some, loved and cared for by others. To my white colleagues and white allies who thought it not robbery to be in the streets with us every single day, like Beth and her husband Kyle, thank you. Because we are one. We are one. And love, God's perfect love, casts out all fear. Now we know that fear is a strong emotion but love is a greater emotion. We also know that it's difficult to move past fear, but we want you to know you are not alone. We not only stand with you, we walk with you, we march with you, and we love with you. In Mecklenburg, we're not going to wait for any politicians. We're not going to wait for any person, any one person, because it really truly is about all of us to bring our gifts to the table. It's not about any one organization. It's not about any funding. It's about how we, as residents of Mecklenburg County, commit one to another. In closing, the state legislators who have determined that they would do all they could to not only hurt people of color, but all of Mecklenburg, where they call us the great state of Mecklenburg. We're here to tell you that we will go through the fire together. We will stand together. And we're asking those who may have voted against their self-interest to make a real determination to begin to learn about the true history of this country. Black history, the history they're trying to erase. To understand that we have been fighting for hundreds of years, not only for ourselves, but for every human being on this earth. And that brown and black are brethren. White and Asian are brethren. Christian and Muslim are brethren. That we are no longer allowing anyone to divide us. Because we know we are stronger together. God bless you.
All right, and so we are about to wrap up shortly.
All right, we're taking another break from that press conference that went on for multiple hours. This is a really extensive look into what our local leaders, local representatives really have to say about Border Patrol. We'll come back to it in a bit, but for now, a short break. Welcome back. Just past 2:30 here in the Live Impact studio. We're getting right back out to that press conference from earlier today with Charlotte leaders on Border Patrol.
Council member elect J.D. Mozzarella.
Yes.
Ares.
Good. Thank you. Thanks. Good afternoon now, right? I think. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Councilmember-elect J.D. Masueda Arias, representing District 5. Welcome to District 5. You're in the heart of East Charlotte right now. I want to highlight something before I give my little remarks. Something that a lot of people won't talk about, which is the people behind me, the elected leaders, the community members, the faith leaders, who have undergone racist, anti-immigrant, xenophobic attacks on social media and across all platforms throughout the entire week that CBP have been here, because we're standing up, and because we're standing up for people, all people. But listen, despite those attacks, I am proudly Latino, I am proudly an immigrant, and I'm proud to serve in this city council as the first Latino and the first formerly undocumented immigrant. I want to begin with clarity and honesty. Yesterday, DHS confirmed that this operation is not over. I don't say that to alarm anyone. I say it because our community deserves the truth. Yes. That's right. We should not panic, but we cannot let our guard down. Amen. That's right. And just as we have done for years, as Reverend Mack said, when ICE has operated in our city for over 5 years, we must continue being aware, cautious, and connected to one another. Over the last week, there has been a lot of noise, a lot of misinformation, and frankly, some intentional false narratives meant to distract from what is actually happening on the ground. So let me set the record straight. Thank you. Every night on this street, right in front of this bakery, the protests you have seen have not been organized by political operatives or outside agitators. They have been created and sustained by the children of immigrants. Yeah. Teenagers, college students, and young people who grew up not only in East Charlotte, but across our Queen City, who love this community and who decided that silence was not an option. It has been one of the most beautiful and courageous things I have ever witnessed. Yes. And let's be clear, the danger and chaos this city has experienced did not come from these young people. Right. It came from the presence of CBP in our neighborhoods. That's right. That's right. And I really want to take a quick moment to highlight some wonderful folks, Kyle, Beth, Brian, Reverend Mack, who have been here every day during the day, Manolo. And we oftentimes switched shifts. They would be here throughout the day, and I'll be here at night with the kids. So thank you for standing alongside us. CBP's actions led to 31,000 CMS students not attending school. Their actions left young children, as young as 6-year-olds, taking the trash out by themselves because their parents were too afraid to leave their home. Their actions shut down small businesses, empty restaurants, and caused a devastating blow to our local economy. Charlotte East has surveyed over 76 businesses in this footprint, some reporting a daily loss of $2,500 a day, and others as high as $5,000. Their actions detain undocumented immigrants, permanent residents, and U.S. citizens without due process and without reasonable cause. And we still do not know the charges or the circumstances behind more than 370 arrests. The level of apostasy is reckless. It is unacceptable in any community, but especially in one as diverse, vibrant, and tightly knit as East Charlotte. But today can not only be calling out what has gone wrong, we have to talk about action. We cannot talk about enforcement in isolation, because the truth is, we are living through the consequences of more than 20 years of non-existent or ineffective immigration policy. all we do right now is debate how enforcement should be carried out, and we do not demand for immigration reform that has been promised for decades, then we will be standing in the same place 20 years from now, having the same conversation. Charlotte deserves better, North Carolina deserves better, this country deserves better.
Amen.
And finally, we need to talk about recovery, starting now. Every sector in this county and city, government, nonprofit, philanthropy, and especially corporations, must take responsibility for our communities, heal.
All right, we're actually hopping back in here to bring you to something happening live out of Canada. I know that's far, but bear with me. That was not meant to be a joke, Carlene, about this bear attack that happened in Canada. We're getting an update on some people that were injured after, I believe, a group of school kids were attacked by a bear. This sounds like we made it up, but it is a very real situation. And so we're going to get to this press conference now.
A quick recovery and the best for everyone who was injured. With that, I'm happy to take a few questions from you about the goings-on in the beautiful province of British Columbia.
Should the province be looking at its approach to raising their in the wake of this event? Several events in the province are turn to
Well, I think it's a bit premature to understand what happened here. The conservation officers are on the scene and will provide updates. Certainly, anytime there is a bear attack, the Conservation Service provides advice to government about anything we can do to prevent similar incidents in the future, and we'll certainly be listening to that advice carefully. Yeah, I've reached out to Ottawa to express that business in British Columbia should be discussed with British Columbia at the table. That message was delivered by me unequivocally to senior ministers within the government, and I'm assured was passed on to the Prime Minister. And my sincere hope is that Ottawa recognizes both the jurisdiction of British Columbia and also the common sense that you might want to check with the locals if you're discussing policy in their province.
Staying on the pipeline, can you just clarify what you meant by expanding the Trans Mountain capacity?
Sure. The existing publicly owned pipeline that was built to service the province of Alberta over the objections of British Columbia cost about $30 billion to build, taxpayer dollars, is not at full capacity. In addition, the capacity of that pipeline can be expanded through additional compressor stations, as well as through, I understand, putting additives into the pipe to add hundreds of thousands of additional barrels of capacity if there's demand for it. We have been quite frank with Alberta and with the federal government that although we never supported the pipeline and we're not enthusiastic about it, we're good team players on Team Canada, and we're willing to do what we can to support an expansion project if it's needed. We ask other provinces to step up and help us out, and we understand that need too. But this work is made more difficult when we have other provinces, specifically Saskatchewan and Alberta, coming in trying to tell British Columbia how to run our province, and most specifically to attack an oil tanker ban off our coast that is the foundation for consent and support for tens of thousands of jobs and billions of dollars of investment in the province of British Columbia, when there isn't even a project to justify removing the oil tanker ban. So we'll continue to have those conversations with those other provinces and with the federal government. But just to be clear, we are and have been engaging with Alberta on their concerns about being able to access global markets. It's certainly their priority. We're happy to understand that and to work with them. But I'm a bit challenged by the approach they're taking to our province right now. Sorry, which crisis? Oh, the extortion crisis? Yeah, thank you.
And the 100 cases
case files regarding to the extortion, and there have been some action taken by the BC government, but is it enough right now because people are not feeling safe? That recently some of the houses are shot twice in the year already, and people are not feeling safe.
Yeah, thanks for asking. I started the day meeting with business owners here in Surrey and with the Deputy Chief of the Surrey Police to hear from them about what's happening here in Surrey, and so that they could hear directly from police about the actions that are being taken. This is a major priority for the province of British Columbia right now. These extortion threats really cut at people's feelings of safety at home in the community, the ability to do business. I heard from the business owners that it is having a direct impact on the willingness of people to make donations and be public about making those donations, about being willing to buy a car that might look more expensive because it might draw attention to them. I heard a business owner say he was reluctant to put Christmas lights out because he didn't want to draw attention to himself. You know, these kinds of things are the complete opposite of what my expectation is and the expectation of all British Columbians in terms of people being able to feel safe and conduct their business in the province. We did hear from the Deputy Chief of the Surrey Police who feels that good progress is being made, that their team is working closely with the task force, which now includes more than 40 police officers. The RCMP has surged additional resources into Surrey to deal with this. I also asked specifically the Deputy Chief whether he felt there was an issue related to the transition of the police to the Surrey Police Service from the RCMP. He addressed that. He said there have never been more police in Surrey than there are right now. We've got 300 RCMP officers in addition to about 600 or 700, can't recall the exact number that he used, of the Surrey Police Service. This overlap between the two forces means that there is a record number of police on the ground in Surrey, even before this recent surge by the RCMP. So the resources are there. I've made sure that the provincial government has committed those resources will be there. In addition, we will be working closely with the federal government to ensure that that they are aware of and are using all the tools that they have at the table. And I'm very grateful that we have Canadian Border Services agents in significant numbers that are assisting with this work, given the immigration status of some of the individuals alleged to be involved here.
All right, we're going to take a little bit of a break from that because they moved on to a separate question portion where they're asking things other than about what really happened here, which is a bear attack on a group of school children. It injured 11 people, 2 critically and 2 seriously. We're still waiting to learn a little bit more about that, but of course this happened today in Canada, and so it's going to take a little bit of time to get some updates on the status of those people who were injured. Some of them I believe to be students, and also just, you know, what led to this, what happened here. We're going to take another quick break. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Welcome back to Live Impact News, 2:52 here in the Impact Studio. Getting back out to that press conference on Border Patrol from earlier today.
Emotional, mental, and economic trauma of this week.
Yes.
Our entrepreneurs and small businesses need support. Our families need resources. Our children need safety and assurance. Statements alone will not build trust. Press conferences alone will not restore stability. Recovery will require intentional, proactive partnerships across every level of this community. And I want to take a moment to thank Our Bridge for Kids, Carolina Migrant Network, CMB, Latin American Coalition, and CMPD, who have been out here every single night. Anyone telling you that CMPD is cooperating with ICE or CBP or disrupting peaceful protests is a flat-out lie. Because the very same communities that have been attacked by these federal agents depend on the services of our police and our men and women in uniforms to keep them safe. They call this operation Charlotte's Web, but the real web that formed here, despite the fear, despite the anxiety, was woven by our people. A web made of hope, made of unity, made of love and community. And that is the Charlotte I know. That is the Charlotte we will continue to protect. All right, for my Spanish media folks. Gracias a todos por estar aquí. Quiero comenzar con claridad y honestidad. Y también quiero empezar con algo que mucha gente no está hablando. Que muchos de nuestros oficiales electos, miembros de la comunidad, líderes de fe, han recibido ataques racistas, xenofóbicos y antimigrantes en las redes sociales. De igual manera, yo sigo siendo orgullosamente latino, orgullosamente inmigrante y orgullosamente el primer latino y el primer indocumentado en el Consejo Municipal de esta ciudad. Quiero comenzar con claridad y honestidad. Ayer el Departamento de Seguridad Nacional confirmó que esta operación no ha terminado. No lo digo por causar pánico, lo digo porque nuestra comunidad merece la verdad. No debemos entrar en alarma, pero tampoco podemos bajar la guardia. Y como lo hemos hecho durante años cuando ICE ha operado en nuestra comunidad, ya casi 5 años y más, debemos mantenernos alertos y conectados entre nosotros. Durante esta última semana hemos visto mucha desinformación y sinceramente algunas narrativas intencionales diseñadas para distraer de lo que realmente está ocurriendo en estas calles. Así que quiero aclarar algo públicamente. Todas las noches aquí las protestas que han visto no han sido organizadas por políticos ni por extranjeros. Han sido creadas y sostenidas por los hijos e hijas de inmigrantes, jóvenes estudiantes, universitarios, muchachos que crecieron en el este de Charlotte, que aman esta comunidad y que por su propia cuenta decidieron que quedarse en silencio no era una opción. Ha sido una de las expresiones más hermosas y valientes que yo he visto en mi vida. Y dejemos algo en claro, el peligro y el caos que esta ciudad ha vivido no viene de estos jóvenes, viene de la patrulla fronteriza. Sus acciones llevaron a casi 31,000 estudiantes de nuestras escuelas públicas que no fueran a la escuela. Sus acciones hicieron que los niños de tan solo 6 años salieran a sacar la basura. Vaciaron restaurantes y causaron un impacto económico devastador. Sus acciones detuvieron a inmigrantes indocumentados, residentes permanentes y ciudadanos de este país, sin debido proceso ni causa razonable. Aún no sabemos los cargos ni las circunstancias de más de 360 arrestados. Ese nivel es irresponsable, es inaceptable en cualquier comunidad, pero especialmente en una tan diversa, vibrante y unida como nuestro este de Charlotte. Pero hoy no se trata de solo señalar lo que ha sido malo, tenemos que hablar de acción. No podemos hablar de solo cómo se aplican las leyes, porque la verdad es esta. Estamos viviendo las consecuencias de más de 20 años de ausencia o eficiencia total en la política migratoria. Si lo único que hacemos ahora es debatir la manera de implementar operativos y no exigimos que finalmente aprueben la reforma migratoria que ambos partidos llevan prometiendo por décadas, entonces dentro de 20 años estaremos acá en el mismo lugar teniendo la misma conversación. Charlotte merece más, Carolina del Norte merece más y el país merece más. Y tenemos que hablar de la recuperación, empezando desde ahora. Todos los sectores de esta ciudad y este condado, el gobierno, las organizaciones sin lucros, la filantropía y especialmente el sector privado tienen la responsabilidad de ayudar a sanar el impacto emocional, mental y económico de esta semana. Nuestras familias necesitan recursos. Los comunicados no restan la confianza. Las ruedas de prensa no reconstruyen la estabilidad. La recuperación requiere una colaboración intencional, proactiva y seria entre todos los niveles. A este operativo lo llamaron Charlotte's Web, pero la verdadera red que se tejó aquí en medio del miedo y la ansiedad no fue la de ellos, fue la nuestra, una red tejada con esperanza, una red tejada con unidad y una red tejada con amor y comunidad. Esa es la Charlotte que yo conozco, esa es la Charlotte que seguiremos defendiendo. Now, I have the honor and privilege to introduce somebody very close to my heart. When my family and I moved to East Charlotte in 2001, my mom used to work at the grocery store right behind y'all. It used to be a Mexican grocery store. And since I was as young as 2 years old, I would come to this bakery behind me. It used to be called Las Delicias, now famously known as Manolo's Bakery. Manolo's Bakery has become a symbol of resistance the past week. It has become a symbol of hope and love and courage. And that could have not been done without the most incredible, brave, courageous business owner in this part of our city. My friend, my brother, my mentor, and most importantly, my family, Manolo Bentancur.
Well, the idea is that you guys were going to be talking here. Myself, I didn't even know that I was going to be in front of cameras. I'm gonna say a message in Spanish before. I promise you, it's going to be short.
Take your time.
Esto es para mi gente latina, para mi gente migrante, para toda nuestra raza. Sabíamos que íbamos a llorar esta semana. Sabíamos que íbamos a pasar por unas semanas difíciles, por momentos difíciles, que íbamos a caer de rodillas y íbamos a llorar. Pero vamos a seguir levantándonos todos los días, porque mientras que nos sigamos levantando, siempre va a haber esperanza. Y mientras que tengamos la esperanza, nuestro espíritu va a ser fuerte. Una vez mi papá y mi mamá perdieron un negocio por una bomba en Colombia. Al día siguiente los terroristas lo llamaron a mi papá y le dijeron, ¿ahora qué vas a hacer? Y yo, primero trabajaba, me levantaba a trabajar a las 8 de la mañana, mañana comenzamos a las 7 de la mañana. Mañana comenzamos más temprano a trabajar. Mañana volvemos a construir América, porque somos lo mejor, no vamos a bajar nuestra frente y vamos a estar orgullosos de lo que somos. Los amo, los quiero y somos una sola familia. Una sola familia. Gracias, mi gente. Please raise your hand if any of you have brought your passport to East Charlotte. This is our new reality. This is not fair. We are all protected under the same Constitution. I swear to protect this Constitution. I raise my hand to protect this flag. I came to East Charlotte in fear. I wake up in fear. I left my bakery in fear. Now more than ever, I love how I hold my son and my daughter. Every single kiss to my wife is more meaningful right now. But this is not the first time, but it could be the last one. And it depends on us. We have to change this. We the people. Yes. We the people. I have to read that. I learned that. It has been a very emotional week. Yesterday I cried a lot. It's so hard to be a hero. I wasn't ready for that. I came to make bread in this bakery. From this bakery, the only thing that we make are cakes that means love and happiness. And we make bread that means life, the love for God. Yes. And that's everything that is going to keep coming out from this bakery. Love, happiness, faith, and hope. So, I believe in God, but I'm not crazy about faith. And I went to a Christian university, King University in Tennessee. That's where I learned English. And I remember that time everybody was talking, I talked to God last night, I talked to God last night. You would think, what is going on with these people? There's something wrong about this. My father passed away 10 years ago, absolutely. December 10th is going to be 10 years ago. And 1 month ago, I dreamed with my father. I was sitting with him in a coffee shop. And my dad told me, hey son, I brought you a message from God. God wants to talk to you. Yeah. And I told my dad, hey, what's going on with you, man? What are you taking? And my dad was, you see all the people wearing shoes and jeans, regular clothing? Yes, I see them. I see them. What is going on? Tell me the truth. Well, God wants to let you know that he's sending you an army of angels wearing regular jeans and regular shoes. And an army of angels is what we have gotten all this week long here in Charlotte. We got together as one city, as one just family, full of love. And I'm never gonna forget that. As a representative of the immigrant community, always I'm gonna tell you, thank you. I always tell to, one more thing that I just wanna tell you is, never lose faith in humanity. Yes. Amen. This is what's going to keep us together. This is not the end, but we are going to keep fighting. We are going to be together. Thank you so much. I love you so much.
All right, we're about to close out with Reverend Glency Redrick, and then we will stand for questions. Also, if you are parked at Landmark, apparently you may need to move your car as they were booting cars this week for the folks in the back. All right, Reverend Redrick. I know you want to hug me. Yeah, I do.
Can I ask all of the clergy and faith leaders to circle around me, please? All clergy. We want to thank Manello for receiving us. We want to thank you for being here. I am Reverend Glency Redrick, the co-chair of the Charlotte Clergy Coalition for Justice. And today we stand here in front of the Manolo Bakery to say once again, with moral clarity and conviction, Border Patrol, stay out of our city. You have already harmed and shattered this community enough. Yes. You arrested American citizens. You treated our undocumented and documented neighbors as if they came here to commit crime. When in truth, they came here to build lives, raise families, and contribute to the flourishing of Charlotte. Amen. And to ICE, hear us clearly. We are human beings, and we expect every person in this city to be treated with dignity. We stand here as many organizations, many.
Taking a break again from this press conference from earlier today with multiple Charlotte officials and organizations and leaders discussing what Border Patrol has done to their community in the couple days that they've been here. We're going to turn now to something happening, I believe this is live, Jeb, out of California. So this is Congressman Eric Swalwell. He is also a candidate for governor of California. He's in Altadena right now touring wildfire damage. You may remember earlier this year that was a huge problem, and so we want to get right out to here, see what he has to say about what he's seen and how he would plan to fix it.
If you're just receiving funds to help you sleep, in a home for the next couple weeks for your family, so there's a lot of heart in this community, and I want to be a governor that mirrors that heart, but not just mirrors it and understands it, but takes a get shit done approach for the people here, and not let bureaucracy or anything else get in the way. And that's the promise that I've made. I'm also mindful, finally, that we're just about a month away from the holidays. And as I look at, the Christmas wish list for my 3 little kids, I can't imagine what it must feel like to be a child in Altadena and not to be able, to celebrate the holidays or sit under the Christmas tree in the home that you always called home. And so there is going to be a continued mental health crisis in this community that we must all first understand and be aware of, but also make sure that we have resources that address it. And so my heart beats with Altadena, and I'll be a governor that always fights for Altadena. With that, I want to introduce the council chair, Victoria Knapp, who's also educated me and was very forceful with me on what she expects of me, and that she's going to follow up with me, and that's just the type of advocate that the people of Altadena need. So, Victoria.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I wanted to welcome Congressman Swalwell to Altadena and thanking him for the time being here. Whenever leaders in government come to Altadena and see this community firsthand, especially in the aftermath of this fire, it provides a perspective that no briefing book can. And I was on his bipartisan delegation tour back in January, so for him to be able to see the progress that has happened here in the short months since then, I'm sure has given him renewed hope about what is going on in Altadena. Even though the most visible fire debris is now gone, the physical landscape tells our story. The scale of loss, the pace of recovery, and the long road still ahead for so many Altadenans. His visit ensures that the needs of this community become more than just numbers on a page. They become real, lived, and urgent. I hope he takes this impression back with him to Washington and fights for the passage of Governor Newsom's reduced $34 billion supplemental aid package. We need aid to flow into Altadena for the recovery of Altadenans. Altadenans are acutely aware that if California were a red state, this aid would most certainly have been approved already. We are only asking for fairness and for the federal government to meet this moment and this disaster. We appreciate your presence here today, your willingness to see the reality on the ground, and your commitment to understanding what the residents of Altadena are going through. On behalf of Altadena, we thank you for your visit. I hope you will continue to work hard for the people of this community as we heal, rebuild, and recover. With that, I will turn it over to the facilities manager of the Collaboratory and my vice chair, Nick Arnzen.
Thank you. First of all, thank you everybody in front of me for being here. Keeping an eye on Altadena is of utmost importance because this work has just begun. So I appreciate you all. Congressman, I appreciate your being here. Victoria, thank you. I, like many of the people behind me, hold many hats. Those hats are always focused on rebuilding this town and making sure that the residents are taken care of and treated in the respectful way that they're meant to be treated. So when we have visits from dignitaries that show an eagerness to learn and an eagerness to educate themselves on what we're doing here, I'm incredibly appreciative. Right now, we just lean on any way we can to find hope. And if that's a visit or being on camera to make sure that people know we're still looking for help, then that's what we've got in front of us. There's so much tragedy, and as the Congressman mentioned, there's so much mental health issues currently and about to be upon us. So I hope we keep looking forward. And this group behind me, we work together along with so many people not here today. So any visit like this is not just welcomed, it's encouraged, because moving forward, we need the help far beyond our borders to make this happen. So thank you again for being here today, and thank you so much.
Of course. Yeah, thanks, Dave. I'm going to next invite up two people who are part of the tour today, and I just also want to mention Caitlin Stamos, who grew up in Altadena, helped stitch this group together, and although does not live here now, you would think she does. She spends so much time here as a part of the community. I want to invite Brandon Lamar and Catherine Peoples of the Eaton Fire Collaboratory Rebuild Center.
Brandon.
Oh, Brandon. Okay.
Good day. This is an opportunity to just speak to the work that our organization is doing at the Eaton Fire Collaboratory. HPP Cares has stood up, and we are here providing rebuild case management support to our survivors. We found it important, being that we know that a lot of our survivors aren't going to understand the process of building a home back. And so through our organization, we are here to help them go through one-off questions, to help them have their homes re-energized, and or to go over a contract, help them determine contractors and vet them accordingly to ensure that they are licensed and have the appropriate bonding. HPP Cares also has put together what is known as the Experience Lab, where our survivors can learn and have a touch and feel experience of the process of what it takes to rebuild and the key components to ensure that they meet the IBH standards. So that's what HPP Cares is about, and we're here to support our survivors.
Thank you, Catherine. I'd be happy to take any of your questions. Okay, no questions. Again, I just want to wish, as we go into this week of gratitude, just gratitude to the first responders in this community and the charitable organizations who have stepped up and worked with this very resilient and dogged council to make sure that we collectively write the next chapter, one of hope and renewal for Altadena. Thank you again.
All right, that is Congressman Eric Swalwell also announcing his candidacy for California governor today, touring fire damage in Altadena and hearing from other officials in the area. We are going to take a quick break. We'll be back here in the Live Impact studio in about 2 minutes. Welcome back to Live Impact News 317 here. We want to get to something else that happened earlier today, also in D.C., busy day in D.C. Now, you may remember that President Trump's relationship with Saudi Arabia has been called into question, not just because of business done by his family, but also with his direct relationship with the Crown Prince. So, a journalist who was killed, Jamal Khashoggi, his wife, and also a representative held a press conference today asking for the release of a phone call Trump made in 2019 to the Saudi Crown Prince.
Good morning, everybody. It is 11 o'clock, and 25 years in the Army, I like to be prompt, and so we're about to get started. So first of all, thank you all for coming today. I'm honored to have Ms. Khashoggi standing with me today as we remember her husband and call for transparency and accountability for her family and for the American people. Thank you, Hanan, for being here. Given President Trump's disturbing and counterfactual defense of Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman this week, I felt compelled to speak up on behalf of the Khashoggi family and the country that I serve. This is why I took to the House floor to bring to light a call I reviewed during my tenure on Trump's White House national security staff. Out of all the calls with foreign leaders that I reviewed, two stood out as the most concerning. The first is well known, the call with President Zelensky that led to Trump's first impeachment. The second is a call between Mr. Trump and Mohammed bin Salman after the brutal murder of Washington Post journalist and a Virginia resident, Jamal Khashoggi. The Khashoggi family and the American people deserve to know what was said on that call. As I've said on the floor and in the past, if the past is any indication, the receipts will raise serious questions, and they will be shocking. All week, I've urged the president to release a transcript. Yesterday, I sent him a letter with 37 of my colleagues demanding the release of the transcript. I'm honored to have Ms. Khashoggi with me today, standing by my side as we remember her husband and call for transparency and accountability. We will continue pressing for the release of the transcript so the American people understand the truth. Our intelligence agencies concluded that Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman ordered the murder of Ms. Khashoggi's husband. When a president sidelines his own intelligence community to shield a foreign leader, America's credibility is at stake. The Khashoggi family and the public deserve to hear the truth. We need straight answers about this conversation. We need the transcript. Once again, I'm calling on the president to release the transcript of this call. I'm now honored to introduce Ms. Hanan Altar Khashoggi, the widow of Jamal Khashoggi, a native of Cairo, Egypt. She moved from the UAE, where she worked for over 20 years, here before her husband was brutally murdered. On July 20th, after 2 years of harassment and detainment, Hanan fled to the United States to claim political asylum. With the help of the United States Congress, she was able to get her work permit and was granted political asylum in December of 2023. She now resides in Arlington, Virginia. I will now turn the floor over to Ms. Khashoggi, and thank you for being here.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for attending this event. And I would love to thank Congressman Vandeman and Congressman Mr. Jamie Raskin as well for all of the support for the truth and saving the democratic of America. I'm very proud of all of you. I was born, my name is Hanan, I born in Egypt, I grown up in Dubai. My name is Hanan. I born in Egypt. I grown up in Dubai, where I was working as well as a cabin crew with Emirates Airlines for 22 years, where I did have the privilege to meet Jamal in 2009. The relation continue and is getting stronger since 2009 because we realize we are like a twin. He's Adam and I'm Eve. We meet in all of our opinion. In 2016, Jamal Khashoggi was giving a speech via Zoom, and the Saudi authority did not like it. They decided to put him under house arrest. I started to object in my little capacity in my social media, speaking to different Arabic journalists to speak up and release Jamal, because I do believe strongly in him. Jamal was very kind man, stable man, and transparent man. Whatever he see in you see, he say it in a camera. He used to say it in our house after we got married. After I supported him in this cause, the Emirati did put me under surveillance. They spy on me. He managed to flee to America in 2017 and live in his apartment here in Tyson Corner. And he asked me to visit him. I managed to visit him in his birthday in March 2018. He proposed to get married to me, and he put the ring in my hand for engagement. And he told me, I might be a curse in your life, Hanan. I didn't know it will happen later on, and my life will be thrown upside down. We continue in our relation, going back to Dubai to resume my work. The intelligence of United Arab Emirates was waiting for me, detained me, interrogated me, and questioned me for 17 hours all about Jamal, and assuming he have a network to change the throne in Gulf area, which is not true. We got married here in America, in Alexandria in June 2018, and we decided to build a life and to be away from all of this polarization in Middle East. But I encourage him to continue the way he are, supporting democratic freedom and the good future of the Middle East, especially to Saudi Arabia. They have the resource to develop. And I did not know this will backfire in him and getting a gap between him and the Saudi authority bigger. And last time we met, it was September, a few days before he fly to Turkey. He was supposed to visit Istanbul, Berlin, London, to buy apartment in Turkey, for he can get a citizenship and he can get some kind of medical insurance as well, because his health was going down. Jamal was suffering with a lot of medical condition before he left us. I did not know ever, and we never did assume they will take his life just because of his opinion. Jamal Khashoggi was very stable man, very kind man, and he met with different people, different background, and I promise you, you will walk away with a smile. This is the kind of Jamal Khashoggi. I heard this week something very disturbing me from President Trump about my husband. He's controversial and he's unliked. I would like to tell Mr. Trump, you're expressing someone else, not Jamal Khashoggi. Jamal Khashoggi was most stable man. He was a role model to represent us as an Arabic and Muslim, and he accepts everybody regarding your ideology background as well. They try to paint him like he's a friend of Osama bin Laden or his Muslim Brotherhood, and all of this excuse. This is not excuse to take his life away. There is no justification to kidnap him, torture him, and to kill him and to cut him to pieces. This is a terrorist act. What they did, this is 17 men in behalf of the order came from the Saudi authority. It's a terrorist act. And I try to take action, even I'm standing alone. I'm trying to take action in different countries, which is I land, because I have a privilege as a cabin crew. I land in these countries when I was under surveillance. After I fled to America, and we discovered they spy on me since 2017 with different spy material, including the Pegasus and Celebrate as well. We try to take action against this. I'm starting legal action in France and in UK as well. I'm looking for a brave lawyer in Turkey as well to assist me. And thank you for listening. Thank you very much.
You're not alone. I want you to know that you're not alone.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm seeking the help of Mr. Congressman Vindman and Mr. Jimmy Ruskin. I insist to get this content of the conversation between President Trump and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman to stand where is the truth. I need to know that what is the truth in this conversation. And I would appreciate if you try as much you can to save the democratic and the freedom to press and speech to America. Do not be copy of Middle East dictator country. We look to you here as a role model of modern civilization. Please maintain it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I want to thank Congressman Vindman for his leadership in making sure that Jamal Khashoggi is not forgotten, and that we will stand always with Mrs. Khashoggi in the search for truth and justice about what happened. And Mrs. Khashoggi, I want to thank you for your zealous conviction to make sure that the truth comes to light. This has been a week of absolute disgrace and shame in the nation's capital as Donald Trump honored and embraced his business partner, the homicidal crown prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman. And we've seen, even in this degraded administration, a week of absolute moral and ethical collapse when an American reporter posed the question about what would be done with respect to the vicious assassination of Jamal Khashoggi. Donald Trump reprimanded her for her insubordination as if she were a member of the U.S. Armed Forces, and then proceeded to say, as Mrs. Khashoggi said, that her late husband was controversial. There were people who didn't like him. And then with respect to the assassination, he said shamefully and scandalously, things happen. Things happen. Let that sink in for a second. Everyone knows the truth. Following up on Mrs. Khashoggi's point, it can't be said enough. Jamal Khashoggi was an American journalist, and he wrote for the Washington Post. He was a critic of the brutal human rights violations and repression taking place in Saudi Arabia. And when he was traveling in Istanbul, Turkey, he was abducted by 17 members of Mohammed bin Salman's security team. He was strangled, and then he was drawn and quartered, dismembered, assassinated by Saudi Arabia. And this is what our president describes in the compressed formulation of.
All right, cutting into this press conference that you've been listening into, we're going to take a quick break because we've got a lot of local headlines we're going to get to, including, again, the questions still surrounding Border Patrol, whether they are or are not leaving Charlotte and when they'll move on to their next assignment. We're going to get to all that and everything related to it coming up in just a few minutes. Welcome back to Live Impact News, just past 3:30 on the clock here. And as I mentioned, our biggest story really of the last week is Border Patrol being in Charlotte, making hundreds of arrests, and the confusion surrounding whether or not they are leaving anytime soon. Some miscommunication and misinformation going back and forth between the federal government and our local sheriff's office here. So we're still working to hammer out those details. I know that there's a lot of confusion overall, but Department of Homeland Security says they are staying here. Operation Charlotte's Web, they're calling it, will continue. But whether or not that continues, we're still dealing with the residual effects here of people who have been arrested and detained, multiple arrests that have happened publicly. This is going viral all over media and causing a lot of fear. One particular incident, though, that we have been looking into here at WCNC, a Charlotte landscaper has been detained since Monday. From what we found, no criminal record. He has the authorization to work here, and so that's why our Nate Morabito has been looking into this. So, Nate, I know that you've been talking to sources, but still a lot of questions still unanswered here, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, I think I want to show you guys the video first.
Okay.
This is video that I became aware about earlier this week and communicated with the man who shot the video, was a co-worker of a guy named Oscar Rene Rodriguez. That is the man who is currently in custody. He was previously in Florida. Now he's in Georgia at a detention center, his family tells me. And he was working at a landscaping job on Kenilworth Avenue, right there in the heart of Charlotte, when he was approached by federal agents. And here's how it went down.
We could take you in, temporarily detain you. Do you have your papers and make it that simple? I have. Okay, I have my license. You need it? Just your license? Yeah. Okay. Do you have your resident card or anything? I got just this. Employment authorization. I got employment, yeah. And you're from El Salvador, correct? Yeah. Okay, so we're going to need to run this part, okay? Go ahead. Okay, thank you. I'm going to need you to come with just to the white car, and we're going to run it, and then we'll go from there, okay? In the meantime, I'm going to put cuffs on behind your back. Just going to be detained. Temporarily detained, okay? And then we'll let you go if it comes back good. Why? What's wrong? Because we conducted an investigation. Yes. So put your hands behind your back. Thank you. Behind your back. You don't have to be big, man. Behind your back. There you go.
Okay, so that's what went down about 10:30 or so Monday morning, and you heard the agent say we conducted an investigation. Over the last few days, there's been a lot of pushback from the Department of Homeland Security, ICE, Border Patrol, saying we were not out profiling people. We are doing targeted enforcement. We're looking for violent criminals, but if we find people here illegally, it's our oath to enforce the law. In this case, they said we conducted an investigation. What does that mean? We don't know. And we reached out starting late Wednesday to 2 members of Congress, to ICE, to Border Patrol, to try to get some understanding about why this man was detained. In the meantime, I'll kind of walk you through my process. Whenever I'm working on a story, I'm doing everything I can to disprove the conclusion I've come to, what the facts tell us, right? What the facts tell me right now that we know of is that this man does not have a violent criminal history. But I don't know if he has any active warrants, though. That's not something that I can tell you, right? We can't definitively say that. I can tell you by looking into immigration court records that there's a deportation order for him in 2006. So about 19 years ago. In Texas, an immigration judge ordered him to be deported. Well, fast forward to 2025. In March of this year, the Department of Homeland Security authorized him to work here.
Okay.
That doesn't mean he's a legal citizen. That just means he is now allowed to work. So he's hired by a landscaping company. We interviewed the employer who told me we ran his information through the system and the government verified that he could work here. But what's interesting, and this is part of the great thing about the job that we have, is that we get to learn new things every day. Because this is incredibly complicated, right?
Of course.
On his employment authorization card that the government gave him, there's a certain category that's listed next to his name. And it basically means deferred action. I've never heard that before until this week. That means that at the time, according to an immigration attorney I spoke to, when they approved his authorization to work here, DHS said, not a priority for us to try and pursue deportation right now, for whatever reason. But if he doesn't have any violent criminal history that we know of, if he doesn't have any active warrants or new immigration charges, which again, we've not been told anything, and I found only what I can find in the court systems, there is the potential that that deportation order can result in now his deportation, even though it was almost 20 years ago, even though the government said, hey, you can work here just earlier this year. We also did criminal search on him here in North Carolina. The only thing I can find is a failure to wear a seatbelt last year. So you have this man's family and employer who are really supporting him. I thought in that video what was interesting is that he was detained very quickly. He was put in handcuffs very quickly. It was like, once we prove you're not him, we will release you, but until then we're going to keep you in cuffs, right? But overall it seemed like not very high intensity, as some encounters have been over the last week.
It was incredibly calm how that all went down.
And, you know, I mean, credit to everyone in that situation, because this guy went to work that day at a landscaping job, Border Patrol doing, or ICE, whoever it was, doing their jobs. They come across them. Whoever was filming was not trying to amp up the situation. And I'm not saying that's good or bad. All I'm saying is that it was very calm, to your point. And in the meantime, the family's really having trouble figuring out what's going on. They don't understand. He's got 5 kids. You know, his wife works too. She's a permanent U.S. resident. His son enlisted in the Marines. Stepson enlisted in the Marines, so he served his country, his son. So in the meantime, I reached out to Congresswoman Adams' office. They live in her district in East Charlotte. And she yesterday called the stepson and started talking to him. And I know that they're trying to work on whatever they can in this situation. I also reached out to Congressman Mark Harris's office, because he also represents pretty close to that area. You know, Congresswoman Adams is Democrat. Congressman Harris is a Republican. I've not heard back from Congressman Harris's office at all about this, because I think a real important question was, why is the country choosing to deport this man? If the goal was to get violent offenders, how do they come across him? And then say, yeah, he's got to go. So I think a lot of this is going to have to be sorted out in court. But here's the most interesting thing. Because he had that deferred action category on his employment authorization, this immigration attorney from North Carolina told me, at any point the government can change its mind and say, you know what, you're a priority now to us. We want to deport you. And there's very little recourse. I mean, either someone has to violate a person's rights, I'm told, or there has to be a procedural issue, or maybe someone seeking asylum to try to make it so they don't ultimately get deported. So we were here at the station Wednesday, late in Wednesday afternoon, interviewing his wife, who was just overly emotional.
Of course.
You know, we don't know everything about the situation. That's what's really tricky about these cases. Heck, we don't even know most names yet. You know, they haven't said they have this guy in custody even. There's something like 370 people they've taken into custody since Saturday. Very few names. If you remember, Monday they said, essentially they said, most of the people they've taken into custody are not violent criminals. 44 out of the 100 plus, I can't remember if it was 150 or something like that, were violent, they say, or had some kind of notable criminal history. That number has grown to 370. We don't have names. We don't know why the underlying reasons they took them into custody are. And so it's a mystery. And what all we can do is at some point say, we've done the reporting. Here's what we know. Here's what we don't know. But we think the public needs to know about the situation. Because if he doesn't have a violent offense, this runs counter to the government's statement that they're going out after people who are terrorizing communities. Unless they can tell me something differently, which they've not done yet.
I think that's kind of the biggest conflict that journalists and the government have had during this kind of Border Patrol operation, is just kind of the slow trickle of information. It's taking a while to get some of this information out there. You're right, it may be that this is what they intended to do. There may be stuff that we don't know that makes this in line with what they said they intended to do. But at this point, we just have to kind of wait for them to give us that information.
And here's something that's been really challenging too. Every person that's kind of wrapped up in this is given what's called an A number. It's a unique identifier. And you can go on a government website and you should be able to locate these people based on where they are, based on their A number and their country of origin. Since I found out about this, I've been refreshing it. doesn't come up. I mean, it's been well more than 72 hours now at this point, right? 4 days?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So it's been more than 72 hours. It's not even registering in the system yet. And so that's been a big issue, an immigration attorney told me too. People are having trouble figuring out where their loved ones even are.
Has his wife been able to communicate with him?
There's been very limited communication. An initial phone call, I'm told very briefly, and they told me that the government was trying to force him to do a voluntary deportation, just to sign off and say, yeah, I'll leave, which he was resistant to.
Sure.
And, you know, I think it's interesting too, because we haven't heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know that we've heard a case where people have come forward like this in Charlotte yet, where family members have been willing to say, I have the documents, I am very sad about this, he was a good man, you know, he complied, he went about getting the work authorization the right way, an employer standing up for him. This is really the first one that I'm aware of, at least, where we finally can put, you know, a face and a story to a person's situation. You know, it's a little bit difficult because it's hard to find out the truth. But I just want to look at this right now because I just got something in from U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. And so let me just take a look. I mean, just came in, okay? All right. Here we go. A spokesperson told me this. An employment authorization document, the card that he has, does not translate to lawful immigration status, nor does it protect an alien from immigration enforcement actions. Under the Trump administration, all criminal aliens remain subject to enforcement. Okay. That's a very common thing that we've heard a lot of.
Yeah.
Right? So just because you were authorized to work doesn't mean you get to stay here, number one. And I'm going to read the rest of it real quick if you want.
Sure, of course.
If you want to give me the second here. Yeah. I mean, so that's the information that we have right now, which aligns with everything else we've found so far. The word criminal they have used to say anyone who is here illegally
Is inherently a criminal.
Yes. Violent criminal, though, is different, and I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah.
And so that word violent is not in this statement from U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. So that's some new information just into me. We just published our story about 15 minutes ago, actually. It's on WCNC.com right now. And that's something else I want to point out. You know, I gave ICE and Border Patrol a deadline of 10 o'clock this morning, didn't hear back, and I followed back up with them. Hey, I haven't heard from you all.
Yeah.
I can give you till 11, you know, just to show how careful we are trying to be and how fair we are trying to be, and because ultimately we want to be right. We want to report the truth here. And we continued the conversation. One of them said you should really talk to U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, a different arm of the Department of Homeland Security. I asked them as soon as possible, can you give me some information? And now that's just as in. Again, does not change at all what we are reporting.
It doesn't add a whole lot that we haven't already heard. You're right.
Right. It actually aligns with the story that we have produced.
And I think I'm glad you pointed out to just kind of your process in all of this. That is something about the way that you handle, I mean, investigative journalism is tedious and difficult at times. You are not a gotcha journalist. You are very clear with people about this is when this is probably going to air.
Yeah.
This is my deadline for hearing something. This is what I need to know, what I'm trying to confirm. Interesting, though, that, you know, it's still taking so long to get a hold of some of that information.
Well, and I've told the spokespeople for these agencies, I told the family, I said, I'm not the kind of reporter that's going to take this story and put it on TV right away.
Yeah.
Just for a headline. That is not what we are trying to do here.
Yeah.
We are trying to put the pieces together of this massive puzzle that has consumed our city over the last week and verify everything. You know, I found another person with the same name in Kentucky with a similar name, same age, same home country, and I'm reaching out to the public defender's office there. I'm looking at the court records, and I see his A number is different than Oscar Here's A number. So that, again, I'm trying to disprove my conclusion, what the facts tell me, because I don't want to be in a situation where we're negligent because we're rushing something out there.
Yeah.
You know, it's so critical in these situations to really kind of turn over every stone, and it will consume you, but we owe it to the public. You know, especially as politically charged as this is, I have no interest in entering that.
No.
Right? That has been happening for the last week here on all sides. And this is strictly the truth. Right?
I think interesting too, like you mentioned, as journalists, we get to learn new things every day. I mean, I'm not an immigration expert, that's for sure. We get to talk to those people and learn from immigration lawyers and experts and things like that. But a piece of this story for me that's interesting is I didn't even know you could have a work authorization, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you're allowed to be here legally. You know what I mean? It's
that was my first conclusion.
Weird dance.
Easy. Yeah, he's got a work authorization. Surely he can be here legally. Not true. And if we had reported that the first day, we would have been wrong.
Yeah.
And to your point, like, that's why I reached out to an immigration attorney yesterday, because we are not experts. We are becoming experts on this stuff. And it's so complicated. It's so simple to say these are all illegal immigrants, or these are all people here illegally, or these are violent criminals. But you need all of that context. And it takes time to look into it. It takes time to explain it. This is the perfect place to do it, actually, because we have the time, but there's no constraints on us to keep talking about this.
Yeah.
So that people can really understand. It's very nuanced, and ultimately there's people's lives on both sides here, right? The people who live here that support a lot of what's happening, the people who live here who are against what's happening, the people that are caught up in the operation, the agents that are out there enforcing it. So you just have a lot kind of going on, and you just want to be fair across the board.
I know you're going to have a short version at 5:30 and then the full story at 11. Anything else people need to know?
No, I mean, I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but I urge you to go to WCNC.com and take a look at what we've reported so far. And, we want to hear stories about what actually has happened. So if you know of cases where you think it's egregious, or people were not violent, or someone was profiled, let us know. If you know of someone who was incredibly violent that they've taken into custody, let us know. We want to be aware of this.
Yeah.
No matter what side you're on here, we want to understand everyone who was taken into custody and why.
Yeah, a lot of this is us relying on experiences that we hear from our viewers too. So anything helps. All right, Nate, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Jeb, do you want to take a quick break, or do we want to go to, all right, we're going straight out to, I believe President Donald Trump is speaking after his meeting with Mamdani.
Just passed overwhelmingly to condemn socialism, including with 86 Democrats, all of House Dem leadership, and the minority leader, Hakeem Jeffries, despite his endorsement of you. What's your reaction to that?
I have to be honest with you, I focused very little on resolutions. Frankly, I've been focusing...
Socialism.
I understand. I think the focus is on the work at hand. I can tell you I am someone who is a democratic socialist. I've been very open about that. And I know there might be differences about ideology, but the place of agreement is the work that needs to be done to make New York City affordable. That's what I look forward to.
And I want to clarify your answer to Stephen Nelson. He asked about your comment calling the president a fascist, and your answer was, both President Trump and I have been clear about our positions and our views. Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about...
That's okay, you can just say yes.
Okay.
That's easier. It's easier than explaining it. I don't mind.
And Mr. President, I wanted to ask you also about this Ukraine plan.
Yeah.
President Zelensky said today that his country would risk either giving up a partner or giving up its dignity. There's been criticism that this deal...
You mean he doesn't like it?
It's unclear. He was sort of pretending.
He'll have to like it, and if he doesn't like it, then they should just keep fighting, I guess.
The suggestion that he made, though, was that if he doesn't accept it, that the U.S. would pull back its support for Ukraine.
Well, at some point he's going to have to accept something. He hasn't accepted. You remember right in the Oval Office not so long ago, I said, you don't have the cards. Don't forget, I inherited this war. This war never would have happened. I inherited this war. And I thought he should have made a deal a year ago, 2 years ago. The ultimate deal would have been if it never started. That would have been the good deal. That could have been done too if you had the right president, but you didn't have the right president.
Mr. President, cost of living is something that you and Mr. Mamdani seem to agree on.
Right.
Democrats have run New York City for a long time, Mr. Mamdani. Do you see Democrat policy specifically as being a problem? And I'd like that to be a question that both of you could answer in New York City.
Look, I think that there are many things in our city where we have to own the responsibility of it, things that existed long before the president was the president. And those are also part of the message of our campaign, was to take on a broken politics of the past. And I ran against a number of candidates who represented different versions of that past. And what we found time and again is that working people were left behind in the politics of our city. And what we're looking to do is put those people right back at the heart of our politics so that we don't have a situation where we're in the wealthiest city in the history of the world, and yet 1 in 5 can't even afford $2.90 for a Metro card.
Mr. President, you know, we had some interesting conversation, and some of his ideas really are the same ideas that I have. But a big thing on cost, you know, the new word is affordability. Another word is just groceries. You know, it's sort of an old-fashioned word, but it's very accurate. And they're coming down high. They were, you know, we had, both of us, we had the highest inflation in the history of our country the last 4 years under the Biden administration, and we've got inflation down now to a normal number. It's going to go even a little bit lower than that. Katie, do you have something in a bit?
Mr. President, thank you so much. Mr. Mamdani often talks about New York City being covered by international law, that they will follow international law. Doesn't often talk about the U.S. Constitution. What is your response to that?
Well, I don't know what you're referring to in terms of it could be covered by international law, local law. It's covered by a lot of laws, but it's covered by U.S. law. Are you referring to anything in particular?
He just says that they're a city that endorses and enforces international law. Is that at odds with?
No, I don't know. Would you want to? Do you want to respond?
Yeah, I think what I've heard with the president is our desire to not only follow the laws of our own city, laws that protect New Yorkers, but also a desire for consistency in our politics across the board. And that's something that we've talked about and something that I know many New Yorkers want.
So you were for ICE?
We discussed ICE and New York City, and I spoke about how the laws that we have in New York City allow for New York City government to speak to the federal administration for about 170 serious crimes. The concerns that many New Yorkers have are around the enforcement of immigration laws on New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs, and most recently we're talking about a mother and her 2 children, how this has very little to do with what that is.
What we did is we discussed crime more than ICE per se. We discussed crime, and he doesn't want to see crime, and I don't want to see crime, and I have very little doubt that we're not going to get along on that issue. He wants to, and he said some things that were very interesting as to housing construction, and he wants to see houses go up. He wants to see a lot of houses created, a lot of apartments built, etc. And you know, we actually, people would be shocked, but I want to see the same thing.
Mr. Mamdani, anti-Israel protesters.
Jack?
Mr. President, I want to know one of the policies as well that Mayor-elect Mamdani talked a number of times about on the campaign was shifting the tax burden for property taxes from what he called minority communities to white-based communities and putting more taxes on white people. I also noticed that in your acceptance speech you didn't mention anything about America or Christians or white people in general, and so I didn't know if that was one of the policies that you guys had spoken about.
We focused on affordability. We focused on the cost of living crisis. What I will say is that I am very much interested in property tax reform, because what we see right now in New York City is a system that is so inequitable that it can't even stand up in court. And the president and I spoke about the importance of not only building more housing, but also making sure that regulation of housing is something that is manageable to actually get through and not the cause of yet another weight that we see in our city.
To be clear, you're continuing this idea of race-based property taxes.
No, to be very clear,
that's what you said.
No, the use of the term was a description of neighborhoods, not a description of intent.
So you intend to tax the whiter neighborhoods more?
No, we intend to create a fair property tax system because we want a New York City that is not only fair and equitable, but also one that every New Yorker can afford.
Mr. Mamdani, anti-Israel protesters just targeted
Please, go.
Mr. Mamdani, anti-Israel protesters just targeted a synagogue in New York. Are you concerned about Jewish New Yorkers feeling welcome and safe in the city? And President Trump, you threatened to cut off federal funding to New York City. What policies would prompt you to do that? Would that be city-run grocery stores? Would it be something else?
Well, I think if we didn't get along, whether it's cut off or just make it a little bit difficult or not give as much, we want to see, I use the term, we don't want good money going after bad. And we don't want that to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. I did say that, subject to what policies are being set. We had a meeting today that actually surprised me. He wants to see no crime. He wants to see housing being built. He wants to see rents coming down, all things that I agree with. Now, we may disagree how we get there, the rent coming down. I think one of the things I really gleaned very, very much today, he'd like to see him come down, ideally, by building a lot of additional housing. Yeah. That's the ultimate way. He agrees with that, and so do I. But if I read the newspapers and the stories, I don't hear I don't hear that. But I heard him say it today, and I think that's a very positive step. No, I don't expect, I expect to be helping him, not hurting him. A big help, because I want New York City to be great. Look, I love New York City. It's where I come from. I spent a lot of years there. Now I'm right here. We took a big setback with the mayor that we had, Dave de Blasio. I thought it was a tremendous setback for the city. I think this mayor can do some things that are going to be really great.
Mr. President, Mr. President.
Yeah, okay, how about you? Go ahead, please.
You're a billionaire. You have a different address nowadays than you used to, but you used to call New York City home. Would you feel comfortable living in New York City under a Mamdani administration?
Yeah, I would. I really would. Especially after the meeting. Absolutely.
What makes you comfortable?
We agree on a lot more than I would have thought. I think I want him to do a great job, and we'll help him do a great job. You know, he may have different views, but in many ways, you know, we were discussing when Bernie Sanders was out of the race, I picked up a lot of his votes, and people had no idea, because he was strong on not getting ripped off in trade and lots of the things that I've practiced and been very successful on. Tariffs, a lot of things. Bernie Sanders and I agreed on much more than people thought. And when he was put out of the race, I think quite unfairly, if you want to know the truth, many of the Bernie Sanders voters voted for me. And I felt very comfortable, frankly, in seeing that and saying that. And, you know, it just turned out to be a statistical truth. But no, I feel very comfortable. I would feel very, very comfortable being in New York, and I think much more so after the meeting. Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a question for you, but a very